All right. Sorry for the confusion. We just did 10 minutes of secret streaming. It was my thing, my software. I meant to launch into the stream that I had set up, and instead it just launched a brand new reckless stream. That other one never happened, and hopefully everyone will find their way here. A lot of people. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just out here trying to sabotage my own stream. Forgive me. But I've got the horns. Guys, I've got the horns. I've got Grey Waste Tim. I'll have Girl Nettles shortly. And we're back in business. So sorry about that. I was watching the chat go by, not really reacting to what I was saying. And I was like, man, I must be not really like coming with the hits today. I thought I was dropping some good stuff. Nobody was responding. But people are watching this on the rewatch and they don't care about our technical difficulties. Tim. So hi, Tim. Say hi to the stream.
Hello, stream. Yeah, I guess this is a good way to test to make sure I'm still live too. Like I said last stream, I had said like going live immediately after. We're just throwing all caution to the wind, putting in a lot of faith that our equipment, that our computers, that our internet, that everything's gonna run well. But
Well, this is
you never know
definitely
what's
part of the
around you.
deal, my friend.
Yeah.
As a veteran streamer, things shit happens. But welcome. Tim's mic is low, so I'll turn him up a little bit. That's good. No, you're good, Tim. Don't touch because last time you were overdriven. So if you're lower, that's good. I had you turned way down from last time. So talk a
Okay.
little bit, and I'll adjust you.
Okay.
Here we go.
Test.
All right. So I figured we would, and it looks like some people did have trouble actually with the stream. So some people are a little bit late. So maybe it's all serendipitous. But what I was saying is that this episode, Tim, felt like a love note to old Mythhead stuff. Man, we had a covert reference to Garth the Green. So I broke out my Sir Nunos wear, Kernunos wear, and wow. So I'll get into that, but I figured let's start with the dragon fighting since that was it's fresh in our minds. We had like 45 minutes of politics. Yeah, chant Nettles and she'll appear. She's coming. Her stream was delayed because of some online stuff, so she's running a little bit late. She'll be here shortly. But yeah, we finished off with 15 minutes of fireworks, dragons, and so yeah, I took notes. I was just telling you guys in the other stream that didn't happen. I took notes through the first 45 minutes for each scene so that this review will be a little more orderly. It was sort of bothering me the last couple times. So many things to talk about. I don't get the episodes early like some YouTubers do. I know you guys think I'm connected because I went to the premiere, but I don't get them early. So I'm reacting to this live just like you guys. And yeah, so I took notes to keep it organized. So we'll go scene by scene after we do some top of the line stuff. Now, I put my notes down when we got to the dragon scene because that didn't really require too many notes, but some interesting dynamics there right at the beginning when they're at the War Council. Damon's reckless behavior has people questioning, Vaemond spreading treason. What's up with that, Vaemond? Looking a little sus, but obviously whatever Damon's tactics are, people are questioning it, right, Tim?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we see that in the opening with that poor, nameless Damon fanboy who is so happy to see Damon fly in on Caraxes, so optimistic that he's going to be saved, and he's stepped on. He becomes a sort of victim of friendly fire in a way, and not even with the fire. He gets straight up. Damon, I guess for his part, didn't see the guy, and Caraxes lands on him.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. I mean, you see how how hard it is to operate there. It's all dark and smoky. You can't tell who's alive and dead. And I'd rather be stepped on than eaten slowly by crabs. I will say that. But yeah, it's not like one of those things where it's not like a fairy tale part where like Damon's not going to get off the dragon and untie everyone and bind up their wounds and stuff. Like they're just trying to win the war. Obviously it was fun to see Caraxes burning everything there, but yeah, it's a tough battle scene. Now, I had said, Tim, that it was be easy for a couple dragon lords to go and clean out the pirates, but they made it more complicated by having the pirates adopt the Dornish tactic of hiding in the caves.
Yeah. That was my first thought. Once they mentioned the caves and that how the triarchy is hiding in there, that's where my mind immediately went. It's like, oh, they're taking a page out of the Dornish playbook. using the cave systems, hiding, and it brings us back to like the idea of real world warfare, which is that you can't win with air support alone. You need ground troops. You need guys to go in on the ground. Like Vaemond says himself, the dragons can circle until they fall out of the sky. It doesn't matter if we can't get them to come out of their hiding holes.
Right, and I kind of knew that at the end that's what Damon was doing. They did a good job of making you think that he was going off to, do some one-man alone stuff. And they set it up with a sort of, I felt like it was a little heavy-handed having him beat the messenger. In the books, he beats a messenger when he finds out that that Viserys has had a son, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, because he... that's what we're told. Again, we're told that by the Maesters, is that Damon beats the messenger when he receives word about that Aegon has a son, and the explanation is that Damon sees himself slipping further down the line of succession now that a son is born.
So I like that Laenor calling Vaemond the master of complaints. Laenor is instantly likable, super strong presence. He's got that big Dragon Lord energy right from the first line, I felt like, showing command of the situation. I was saying, in the other stream that didn't have it, Dragon Lords are, they always have an extra weight when they talk because they have a dragon. If we're comparing stuff to war, it's as if there were only 3 bomber planes and only 3 people that knew how to fly them. So yeah. He's incredibly valuable. Yeah, go ahead. He's incredibly valuable.
Well, I was going to say, like, you take that line that Laenor says to his uncle Damon and couple that with the line that Rhaenyra says to the Lady Redwine, like, well, how are you helping the realm by eating cake? And you take those two, like that sass that the two of them have, and the fact that they're a lot closer in age, and you parallel that to the uncomfortableness that we got last episode of Viserys and Laena, and it kind of makes it seem like, hey, Rhaenyra and Laenor might actually make a good match because they're close in age, they're both dragon riders, and they're both quick with the comebacks and quick with the sass. Like you could actually see them based on personality being a good couple.
Yeah, I think they did do a little bit of setup for that, and that's actually a good point because they talked about Laenor and they're like, oh, well, if he survives, and then they cut to him and it's like, yeah, actually no, he's doing pretty well. He's got a big ass dragon. So yeah, that was dope. Strong lines there at the table. Already showing us that, like I said, Vaemond is a little sus. Giving Corlys a chance to look strong and rein it in, but also showing us that it's, their forces fracturing. And that always happens when people start to feel like they're in a losing battle. And you see how Viserys has weakened the effort by not endorsing it and sort of not coming to terms. I did think that line was really good when that whoever it was said to Rhaenyra, one of the ladies, I guess it was maybe Lady Lannister or whatever, Corlys and Damon have committed it to the war and Viserys is in denial. Like, that's completely true. And I should have mentioned in my power breakdown that Viserys should have recognized that he didn't have the authority to prevent Corlys from going to war. So we should have went ahead and just told him to do it so that it looked like he was still in control. Because as soon as Corlys went without Viserys' permission, makes him look less in control. And so you see that tension has continued to undermine the war effort, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it brings us back to the idea presented to us by Varys in the original show, which is, where does true power lie? And it doesn't always lay with the king, especially in this situation where the king is weak. When you have a man like Corlys, who's not king, but who has such powers because such heavy control with his wealth and with his control of the fleets, and I mean essentially controlling the navy. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter what the king says because he's a power player all of his own. And when you have a weak king who can't keep his lords in line, there is no reason not to expect one of them to go off on their own, especially when they have the backing of a prince as well.
Yep, exactly right. And so what did you think about, like I said, they've changed it so that instead of Damon beating the messenger, telling him something more personal and emotional about, oh, you know, the Viserys has a son now. You're third in line instead of second. Now he's beating the messenger because Viserys has offered help. So why is Damon mad because he wants to take care of it himself? Because they said earlier, oh, Damon would never ask for help. So is he feeling like, oh, you know, I'm made to look weak because I can't handle it? Because it's right then that he then goes and like appears to be going on a vigilante mission. And then we find out, of course, that they're doing the plan that they talked about, where they need one person to go out to draw them out of the caves, and then they can ambush them, and it works. So yeah, he felt condescended to, I'm seeing in the chat. Basically, I guess Damon is extremely prideful, I think, is what we're supposed to take from that, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a whole flurry of emotions going on because, like, they've been at war for going on 2 years now. Viserys has never lent any kind of help, and all of a sudden this letter just comes out of nowhere. You do couple that, like, while I don't think that his anger is about Viserys having a son like that, I'm sure even though that might be the thing that sets him off, it's probably still a thought in the back of his mind. The idea that because he shows up at the tail end of what Vaemon is saying, so you get the impression that he probably heard at least a little bit of the shit that Vaemon was talking. So that's probably already irking him. And then to just get that letter, and for the brother and for Viserys to like say the words that he says, like,
you mentioned the word fail.
Yeah, and it's like the letter reads as if nothing happened. It's like, oh, are you going to pretend that we haven't spoke for like the last 2 years, and now you're going to come lending your support, like you're going to swoop in and save me? Like, yeah, it probably set Damon off. I think it was a whole flurry of emotions that he was going through, and it just came to a head. And that guy, that messenger, was, you know, we know that line, don't shoot the messenger, but yeah. he was the closest thing in range of Damon's fist, just the unlucky sap.
And Philip is pointing out that Damon refused help 2 times that he was offered in previous episodes. He pushed his squire down when he was trying to help him, like, so that is kind of consistent. Yeah, it's totally pride. It's because he used the word fail. He wanted to prove his worth, and it's not as effective if he gets help. So he's mad at himself for having it take so long. And so there we go. But I think mostly they did it because it set up this idea that we're supposed to believe Damon is really going on a one-man mission to try to kill the crab feeder, which he ends up doing at the end. Obviously, he's trying to take the crab feeder down, but the main thing was that he actually was working with everybody, and he was doing the bravest thing. And so that's kind of the thing about Damon. He's incredibly proud, but in the end, he put himself on the line in the most dangerous position, knowing that he could well be killed. He'd rather die a hero than like fail, essentially, I guess. So it's a certain kind of honor. It's very hubristic and it's very proud. But in the end of the day, it enabled him to do that thing that no one else would do. They even said like it would take a madman. So Damon was the right kind of madman in that instance. So I think that's good writing, even though it's a little action hero-y, you know, dodging the arrows, so many arrows or whatever, but thematically I think it works really well as far as Damon's character. Vegarian says comparing Alicent's fingernail picking to bird feather plucking, and yes, it is exactly the same. It's a stress behavior. Alicent wasn't doing that this episode though. She's settling into being queen now, huh? I didn't see her doing it, right?
No, even when Viserys was getting drunk and sitting, you know, like he was sitting there, like after he has those words with Jason Lannister and he just starts like knocking him back. Even then, I did not see her picking at her fingernails.
True. And I've got thoughts about Angry Drunk Viserys Bearded Pants. I'm going to go in order and get to that. But yeah, that was strong Robert parallels. There were tons of Robert parallels. There was Garth the Green talk, Robert parallels. It was awesome. And it figures since we went on a hunt, it's a good time to honor Bobby B's memory. Let me see if I got any other ones. Okay, Trey Diaz. I wish there could have been a fight between the crab feeder and Damon. Yeah. So what do you think? They didn't show us the fight. I did like him dragging the corpse out of the cave. I don't know. I felt like I could have seen that fight, but I guess they didn't want to show us 2 guys fighting in a cave. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about the triarchy and the direction that they went in.
He
I
says
kind
with
of
a
want
deep
to.
breath.
I kind of want to wait till Nettles is in because I want to get her opinion too.
Okay.
But when it comes to the triarchy, I have opinions. Okay, like let's just say that. But I want to hold that till Nettles gets here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and let me just check on Twitter to make sure that yeah, okay, she should have the invite. I know she was having some technical trouble and I told her to take her time, so she's no doubt getting her costume on. Michael David says, just sending some love because we finally got a gay dragon rider, and he and his dragon are hot and sassy as AF. Yes, thanks. Censored myself there. Yeah, totally. We did. We have a gay dragon rider, and there he is. I guess they didn't go into the fact that he's gay this week, but spoiler alert, Laenor is gay, and in fact, I've got. If you look at the council here, the picture in the bottom right of the corner below me, right here, I believe that is Laenor's boyfriend in the blonde hair and the armor there. I forget which one it would be. I think that's the one that you see him in the pictures of him at the wedding, and you see the guy behind him. It's the same dude. So,
because I was watching the episode with the subtitles on just to make sure, because sometimes they speak low and I didn't want to miss something. In the subtitles, they did when that character spoke, it did say in parentheses that his name was Joffrey. So I was like, oh, okay, that's
Joffrey Lonmouth.
Yeah, that's probably. I mean, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to spoiler territory, but since it's already been brought up with the chat, like when I say like I think like it gives you the idea that Laenor and Rhaenyra would make a good couple, except for the fact that Laenor is gay, and that becomes like the thing that really, really prevents this, even though they look good on paper because of their personalities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, we're gonna get into it. You know, we're moving fast through time, and these characters only get so much time before things move on. So it's good to celebrate them while they're here. And Laenor was a pretty strong presence in this show. I wrote down as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, you know, big Dragon Lord energy right away. And I like that whole scene at the War Council. Thought they did a more like very rapid character development, which is something they seem to be very good at on the show. I don't feel like they had Damon beat the messenger. I feel like they're setting up to be a real bad guy. Oh, you don't like that they had him beat the messenger. You feel like they're setting him up to be a real bad guy and less of a gray character. Well, I mean, he saved the day. He ended the war. He took like I said, he took the most dangerous job and he succeeded. But yeah, there's no question that Damon is, you know, got rage issues, let's say. So I think that's just the character. He does that in the books too. It's for a different reason, but he's still beating the messenger. I mean, it's classic. Don't kill the messenger. So it's a very easy way to show that someone is out of control when they attack the messenger.
Because sometimes you do, when you're angry and you're hurt, you do brash things and you do things that, you know, you wouldn't that when you get it another 5 minutes to think about it, you realize like, shit, I really shouldn't have done that. You act in the moment. And I think that's what we're supposed to take from him beating the messenger, was he let his anger get the better of him.
And then, so is Damon attacking alone the triarchy planned with the others? It seems that they're just following behind him. No, yeah, it was planned. They just wanted it to be a surprise reveal so that we wondered if it was a vigilante thing or if he had backup. But yeah, I mean, he was looking to the sky. You could see when he got stuck, he was looking to the sky. And then you saw the, you know, Corliss appear and see smoke appear. So yeah, definitely that was, they were working together there. And let me go down. Cool. Yep. Lots of rainbows in the chat. Cool. Very good. Laenor was so cool. Loved his introduction to the show. Jason Lannister, absolute tool. Rhaenyra was right to run from that. She was. And Jason exposed himself later when, you know, showing that he was assuming Rhaenyra was going to be set aside. And that was the context in which he was, because remember in the proposal, he's like, oh, I can build you a dragon pit at Casterly Rock. That doesn't make any sense if Rhaenyra's the queen. So the moment he said that, Rhaenyra knew that, like, oh, you're just assuming that I'm going to get set aside. And if he's assuming that, everyone else is. So that's why that landed that way. I'm not sure if everyone caught that, but Does Damon have grayscale? No, not unless they change that from Fire and Blood. Let's assume he's got gauntlets on, and then he's going to wash the gauntlets in the seawater and not rub them all over his face. He's not going to do a gauntlet exfoliation after handling the crab feeder, I don't think so. So let's do hero and villain of the week. And, just in time. It's Girl Nettles. Just in time for hero and villain of the week. Let me put her on my left. And you've got just a slim... There you go. There you go. Hey, Nettles. How you doing? How was your vacation?
Hello.
Sounding good.
Okay. Now I can hear you. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
No, it's no worries. No worries. Point your camera down just a little bit so our heads are all on a line, though, if you can. It'll help me. Thank you. That's good enough. Yeah, there we go. I have to stand up. There we go. So we were just about to do... I don't know if you were listening while you were getting ready, but we're about to do hero and villain of the week. We've mostly been talking about the dragon fight on the Stepstones. It was the last thing that we saw. They were the dragons, so we can go back to that in a second. Tim's got deep thoughts on the triarchy, apparently. But give me your top of the line thought from the episode, just since you're fresh here.
Better than episode 1. Better than episode 2. I loved it. Very little complaints. I feel like, of course, I loved Emma, but like now these characters are like absolutely fleshed out. Like we're getting Viserys, we're getting Rhaenyra, we're getting Alicent's true character, we're getting Dark Damon, which I was not looking forward to, but no, amazing. And then of course, dragons. Come on, like no.
Well, that's why we started with the dragons. It's kind of, they gave us 15 minutes of, dragon warfare to close the episode. So you kind of got to react to that. Yeah, what did you think? I thought we just got finished saying how cool Laenor and Sea Smoke were.
Yes. I remember in one of our streams before the show aired, we were talking about, wait, is Laenor on a dragon? Why is Laenor on a dragon? And I was saying that, like, he must be fighting in the Stepstones with his dad. It totally makes sense. He's of age. He's not going to just sit at home. And I'm glad to see that he was in there, like coming in and saving Damon's ass at that last moment.
Yeah, I think the best was when he picked up the two people and flung them, right?
Oh my gosh. Like when Damon was in that little cage and I saw like the fire blast. And they kind of like it catapulted Damon back, and I was thinking, wait, why would Caraxes' fire affect Damon like that much? And then I saw it was Sea Smoke, and I'm like, of course not! Like, awesome! It's another dragon. So no, it was awesome.
Real quick, Malika Tooler says when Viserys was drunk talking to Alicent, and he said he was upset, having a dream. Well, that whole scene. Okay. Let me go ahead and jump to that. Well, okay. It's always a challenge to keep this organized. So, Malika, let me just say that I've got that scene in the outline to talk about. So I will answer that question exactly. You've put your finger on exactly the right thing. So I will come back to that. And thank you. That was a very dramatic. Viserys talking about his relationship with he's losing his religion in the corner. That's Viserys in the corner losing. All right. So let's do hero and villain of the week, because I just feel like that's a really good way to sort of put the episode in context. I will start off, and we all got to choose different things, so we talk about different things. So I will start off and I will say that Damon is both the hero and the villain of the week. We kind of just we talked about how, so I'm just sort of putting a button on that discussion. But the most heroic thing, because he ended the war. And he put himself at risk to do it. So that's heroic. But obviously, villainous, beating the messenger, like we said. There's the completely innocent person. And what did that do to the morale of everyone around him? He could have used that message to lift everyone up. Be like, the king is sending us reinforcements. But he wanted to go and handle it himself. And so, yeah, that was incredibly selfish and egotistical. So he played a villain and a heroic role, both, I would say.
It's that big brother tease. It's like it would have, but the thing about that scene is that, like, for me, it's what Damon needed to, because like Damon was like, he had been fighting, he got shot, he had been losing, and he needed that like sibling rivalry, that I've got something to prove. Like when he went in like Jon Snow and was single-handedly taking people down, like, why wasn't he able to do that before? Like, he needed that push or that drive. So in one way, it's the thing he needed, but on the other hand, like, how fucked up are you that you need your brother's vain attempts at help to push you that way? I also think that he found it disrespectful that he was only sending 10 ships. You might as well not send anybody.
Well, they said the Valerians had 18 ships. So sending 10, I guess that would make a difference. I mean, that's basically, you know, 50% of the forces that they have. It just depends on how many ships the triarchy has at that point or whatever. But I agree with you that it's consistently Damon making decisions on emotion. Things that should be political decisions that he makes based on emotion. We see that with Rhaenyra and Viserys too. It's just not as obvious.
It's obvious for me for Rhaenyra. Okay, but let me say my hero and villain. Okay. The villain, we'll say different things. Well, for villain, for me, it is Damon, because I saw 100% bad Damon. So he's
no, you got to pick somebody different.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so we had just cue the conversation.
Good. I got different ones.
Tim, are you ready?
Oh yeah, I got mine.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, my heroes. I'm actually giving it to Sea Smoke and Caraxes, because let's be honest, they're doing the real heavy lifting in this war.
Okay.
For my villain, I'm going with Vaemond Valerian. I believe he was completely out of line. He's stoking he's stoking resentment with the men. Definitely, like, there's the rumblings of mutiny in what he's saying, but it also sets him up for what we're going to get later with Vaemond when he starts, running his mouth again at places. Yep. But it's setting us up just for a character trait that we should expect from him.
You always need suspicious guys in the family, just to cause trouble later when family trouble is needed in the plot. Let's just put it that way. So. I agree with that. It's definitely, and we like to talk about hero and villain in the sort of dramatic role, not always a moral sense. So Vaemond definitely has that villainous role, like he's inciting, and that's why Corlys had to straighten him out there. So yeah, that's definitely one to watch. You're like, whoa, what was that? Who's that guy?
For me, the villain is Otto Hightower. At any chance that I get, I'm going to hate on some Hightowers. I feel like this episode was like that first seed that Otto puts into Viserys' head about, did he make the wrong choice? He keeps saying over and over again, oh, look at the signs. Oh, I'm not much for signs and portents. Did you catch that little Easter egg?
Yeah.
I'm not much for signs and portents, but isn't it a coincidence that your son, da-da-da-da-da. So I was like, okay, and that's kind of what causes Viserys to drink. The worst thing is for you to be king or CEO or the teacher or the parent, and it's hard for you to make that decision, and then someone comes and second guesses you, especially when you're already like, it was just horrible for me to watch, because I really like Viserys. Every episode I'm like, don't die. Oops. Spoiler. But every episode I like him more and more, so to see him be put in that position, and then what does Otto do? Goes and sends Alicent again to double down on it. So I'm like, okay, you might be villain of the week for me every week.
Well, he does. He sort of has that throne. It's almost like who was second place to Otto. The chat's got some really good input here, though. A couple of good picks. One, Rhaenyra is really failing with politics this week. She was doing better last week. We'll get to that. It's not. I don't know if we'd call her villainous, but she's definitely not. I would say more that she's failing more than she's being villainous. However, how about the Hobart Hightower pushing Otto around? Like, Tim, I see. Go ahead on that. That's a pretty good
Oh,
pick,
yeah.
That's
right?
where he gets it from.
Yeah, because Otto's getting the pressure applied on him by his older brother. It's really a reminder that Otto is a second son and stands to inherit nothing.
Yes.
Like without his position as hand, he has nothing. So when Hobart is like saying like, oh yeah, look at Aegon, the spitting image of a king, and Otto's like, I don't see the king. I don't think the king thinks that way. And then Hobart's like really subtly like, well, I guess you better make him think that way, shouldn't you, hand?
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, you could.
there was a little bit of condescension there too. It's definitely that
Yeah,
older
yeah,
brother
exactly.
condescension. Go ahead, Nettles.
Maybe that's who he was sending the letter to last episode. Remember,
Oh,
he
I
was
would have
writing.
to assume so. Yeah.
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 So I think that was a great scene because I always thought Otto just himself was power hungry. But what if you have someone in your ear saying you're not good enough until you bring our family up? So
I'd like to honor my fiance, Minty Maelstrom, who nominates Jason Lannister for D-Bag of the Week. And I'd have to second the motion. So it's Tyland in the small council and Jason being douchey out on the hunt. Is that right?
with the longer hair. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. A
That's
good
how I was able
call.
to
Good call, Minty. And
His
there's
pride
14...
has pride.
1,400 watching friends, so please do hit the like button. That helps. And thank you for choosing us. We know you have choices, yada, yada, yada. Thanks for rolling with the crew. Somebody else with a super chat earlier said we're the real triarchy. So
Yay!
it's very sweet
All right,
of you. Thank
I
you.
want to say my hero now.
Oh, yes.
My hero is Rhaenyra for not killing the White Heart.
Very true. Joffrey. So now if you remember in original Game of Thrones, they talk about this. When Joffrey's going hunting, looking for the omen, and Sansa talks about in the stories, the hero speaks to the animals and never hurts it or whatever. And it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
Joffrey killed it. You know, he wanted to kill it. So it's like Joffrey likes to kill cats. So here we see it. Yeah, go ahead. I've got obviously folklore shit to say, but fire off.
No, I didn't think of that until you just said it now. It really shows that in this episode, Rhaenyra is equal parts Sansa and Arya. She was able to quickly pull out that dagger and save her life, Arya. But then, like you're saying, she's like, well, it's a majestic beast. Let's leave it alone. Like, so it's like the equal parts. I like that.
Interesting that, yeah, Oswin points out that they've got Rhaenyra sitting under the white heart tree, the weirwood tree, and then she is White Heart friend here today. So that's maybe a developing a theme of symbolism with her. That's pretty interesting. Now, of course, Cernunnos is the horned god. There's a lot of versions of the Green Man. It's a whole branch of folklore, and there's debate about which some concepts being more modern and some more ancient. It goes back to the Gundestrup Cauldron, but basically the idea of the antlered Lord of Animals figure. He represents, just as they're talking about the stag as the king of the woods, Cernunnos is the embodiment of the vitality of nature. And so the whole idea is that the Green Man or the Horned God or the Holly and Oak King, they're always dying and resurrecting with the cycle of the seasons because they represent the green, the healthy nature, the summer, spring, fall part. So in the winter, Cernunnos is dead or hibernating, or he's in his Winter King version, etc., etc. So the White Heart is probably the most important symbol of Cernunnos that isn't him himself. It's an avatar of Cernunnos. And so when they said that, oh, the White Heart, and they're talking about the ancient beliefs of the people in that area, they're directly alluding to Garth the Green. They could be imagining that the White Heart is tied to weirwood worship, because if you go back far enough, the Garth the Green and the weirwood stuff is all connected. The Green Men guard the weirwoods on the Isle of Faces. Garth planted weirwoods, etc., etc. But that's all Green Man mythology. And so that's what they're talking about when they say, oh, it's sacred to the people that used to live there. Those are literally the first men that used to worship Garth the Green. So that's like, that got me like very excited.
I'm actually, maybe I'm a bit of a curmudgeon, but when it comes to the white stag, I had a completely different take. I get the symbolism behind it, but when that white stag showed up in front of Rhaenyra, my mind immediately went to the worst parts of the original Game of Thrones show, which is the bells, when Dany's burning down King's Landing and Arya is dodging the crumbling buildings, and she should have died like 12 times by this point.
The horse.
And then that fucking white horse comes out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, and what happened then? Well, in King's Landing, they say Arya Stark's plot armor grew 3 sizes that day. So when I see the white stag that shows up in front of Rhaenyra, I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. Why don't you just have the fucking clouds part and a ray of sunshine come down on her? Like, I get the symbolism, but it felt so shoehorned to me.
Well, so look, here's the difference between our shows then. The white horse didn't mean anything. Like, it literally was just there, and that was it. And when they were asked about it, they were like, we just thought it'd be cool if I was looking at a horse. But this is actually, even though you didn't care for it, or maybe didn't recognize what they were doing with it, or didn't like how it came across, there was, when House of the Dragon does something like this, there actually is thought behind it. And
George is there.
I'm disappointed in you, Tim.
I got that meat wad line. I mean, it's like, I get it. It ain't making me laugh, but I get it. Like, I get the symbolism behind it. I
wanted her to kill the White Hart. Only because they kept saying, like, the White Hart's near. This is a sign. And the moment they said that, even when the horns blew, that they found, like, the gray one, I thought that the horns were blowing to show that Rhaenyra was coming back with the White Hart. Like, I felt like maybe off screen she was going to come across it, and it was going to be the sign. When everyone's doubting her, when everyone's talking about Aegon, here comes Rhaenyra being like, oh, yeah, my dad couldn't kill the White Hart, but I
was nervous that that's what was going to happen, but I was glad that it didn't. It would have been impressive to everyone there, but I prefer that she didn't kill it. So of course,
yeah.
She needs to impress everyone there, though. They're starting to doubt crazy. I can't believe they're starting to doubt this early. I thought that they would wait until there was more chemistry with her and Damon to have the realms, But it makes sense, yeah, because Aegon's too.
Yeah,
I
like that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just to say, like, that the stag that Viserys does kill, like, isn't the white one. That it's a big stag, but it's a normal brown stag, and it's like you can kind of see like both disappointment, but also relief on Viserys. Is like, okay, it's just a regular stag. Maybe I shouldn't make too much out of this. But then also the way though how he fails to kill it with the first blow. And they have to, like, I mean, it's already bad enough, that the stag is being held by other people, like, because the king obviously isn't actually doing the hunt. Like, other people are doing the work for him. And then he misses, and you see, like, oh, I'm too fucking hungover for this shit. And then they have to tell him, like, a little bit more to your left. Like, you can see, like, that Viserys fails to kill it. Seems to be like a sign, like, just to really shoehorn more of Viserys's weakness.
Yeah, in any sacred hunting ritual, it's going to be very important to give the animal a clean death. That's the whole point of having skill with the weapon. So that was the worst possible omen, to kill it like that. Then he got the sympathy clap from everyone, but that was horrific as far as omen goes.
Why did they settle? Like, were they hunting for too long? Why didn't they keep going after the White Hart?
Yeah, they couldn't find it, and so they switched targets. And that's what happened to Robert too. If you remember, he was searching for the White Hart, he lost it, and then was like, "Ooh!" But now he's heard about a black boar, and they chased that down. I thought it was going to be the Hart when the boar ran up on Rhaenyra and Kristen, so that was an interesting twist. Didn't expect that. And then Rhaenyra, like, she's in shock, and then when it twitches again, all of a sudden she, like, all of her bottled up frustration comes out, and she, like, takes it out on the boar. That was kind of that was a well-written scene. It's very much like a shock reaction.
Yeah.
So I wonder now if that means, like, a sign that it's going to be Rhaenyra's mercy that kind of causes her downfall. Because we're seeing symbolism with, like, Viserys not getting the White Hart, like, but Rhaenyra does. She has the chance to kill it, to do whatever, and her mercy, if she would have killed it, she would have looked great in front of the High Lords, right? But her mercy forces her to win their favor another way, if she ever earns it at all.
Yeah, I'm very curious what they are foreshadowing with it. Like I said, they've got her under the weirwood, and they've got her being a friend to the White Hart. So this is a little something that's not really in Fire and Blood. So I'm not sure what they are developing here.
I like it though.
Your thought is interesting. Yeah, there could be an idea that I don't understand. I don't know that Rhaenyra is like overly merciful though. As I'm trying to.
She does, especially during she when she takes. Sorry guys, but a little bit of.
Yeah, don't try not to get into. Yeah, let's not actually, because I don't.
All I'll say is she does, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that as far as the future goes. That could be a potential foreshadowing of what's happening there. And just so you know, Nettles, if I do anything spoiler adjacent, I get a million comments about it. So it's just,
No, I understand. So many, even big names in our fandom have never read Fire and Blood. People who like go to cons and stuff. So I get it.
And it's good, obviously, that more people than just the Fire and Blood readers are enjoying the show. We want that. So we want to encourage that. Yeah. So no, I don't mean to sound bitter. Tim, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I do go back and read the comments after these things air, and I do we try not to. I don't want to spoil things, but it's like the books have been the books have been out for years, so sometimes it's hard, and you can't catch yourself, and it's like, oh shit, the words just came out of my mouth, and I just ruined something. So that's why we end up apologizing for it.
I also think it's only so helpful to think about Fire and Blood because they're playing with the details, and I'd kind of rather just let the show tell its story without having the shadow of these, small canon details that really don't matter that much, sort of hanging over the show. So,
but what I wanted to say was one of the reasonings why they may have settled for the brown stag instead of continuing the hunt for the White Hart is when we think of how when Bobby B was hunting the boar and he's downing that strong wine and getting drunker. Viserys isn't still drinking, but he had been drinking the night before. He's definitely hungover. And a lot of the lords were there and they saw the awkwardness from the night before, his fights with Rhaenyra, the war of words that he had with Jason Lannister about who says I'm going to set her aside? Who's assuming that? And then, the rest of the night, it's him sitting in his angry chair, angry walls that steal the air. His fingers hurt, but he don't care. But he is just, he's back there just knocking them back.
What's with the poetry tonight, Tim?
As soon as when I saw him sitting
stay on camera, buddy. Stay on camera.
And drunker, Alice in Chains immediately started playing in my head.
Tim, can you stay on camera for me? You're doing this.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think they were probably recognizing hey, we need to wrap, the wrap it up box. We need to wrap this up because he is not doing well, and we need to wrap it up and get him home. And you feel bad for Viserys because Viserys the entire time is just can I just enjoy my fucking kid's birthday? Can't we just sit down and eat cake? Why all the politics?
Jennifer Slattery, building on your Alice in Chains, says that Tim is the man in the box, but you weren't the man in the box. That was the problem. Is here's the man out of the box. So Anyways, I can play some Alice in Chains on the bass. Don't make me get out some wood. I will. Anyways, that sounded bad. Okay, so Viserys was very drunk. And it was obviously Robert Baratheon parallel. Robert Baratheon went on a hunt. He was similarly avoiding the issues of the realm when he went on the hunt. It was pregnant Cersei and also the fight between Ned and Jaime. He just kind of dismissed it and went off hunting. Viserys did the same thing, not wanting to hear about the problems. So abundant parallels, But
I wonder how many kings start off straight edge and then the Iron Throne turns them into a drunkard. We didn't see Viserys drinking like this episode 1 and 2.
Well, he might be drinking to just to cure the pain of that hand. Is it getting worse now? I was writing a lot of notes. Did we see his hand?
No, he had his gloves on the entire episode every time we saw him.
Okay, so he's going to take the glove off next episode, and it's going to be oh my God.
Yeah, maybe the entire hand.
I also feel like Rhaenyra hasn't talked to him for 2 years.
Oh, somebody says he lost 2 fingers. I thought that, okay, he was missing 2 fingers, so I missed it.
He was?
Yeah, when did that happen? Okay, I'll have to check it on the rewatch. Like I said, I was taking notes. Okay, the chat is exploding. He's missing 2 fingers. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone's very helpful. I appreciate that. There's 1,400 people, so you know.
That's also very early on. They changed that. Okay. What were we talking about?
So let's go.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to redirect. So if you have a thought, go ahead.
Nope. You're just trying to find the thought in the past.
So he's going hunting to escape his problems. You can see there was a line where Otto is, he doesn't want to help Corlys, and he's all like, well, they did decide to do it themselves. So, blah, blah, blah. So you can see the usefulness of Corlys. Not Corlys, of Otto slow walking the help to the Stepstones in the previous episode and leaving Corlys out to do it by himself. Because once Corlys has done it on his own, now Otto can back away and disown it and be like, too bad. So Otto's playing a pretty deadly Machiavellian game there with the Velaryons.
It's true. And it shows you Otto had big balls when he showed up on Dragonstone too, coming to demand a dragon egg, but when it's a life and death situation, literally at the Stepstones, he's like cautioning to hold back. It's funny.
Yeah, he's always playing games. He's pretty cutthroat. I'm starting to think that Otto's actually a lot smarter and more competent than people are giving him credit for. I might do an Otto video here.
Yeah, because he's letting Corlys bleed, like by letting Corlys take the brunt of what's happening with the triarchy, and even the fact that they let things get to the way they are. It's because Otto actually can see some usefulness in the triarchy by being like, well, it's Corlys's problem, not mine, because Corlys is the one who's being hurt the most on this, and it is a subtle way. It's a power play, because these are the 2 most prominent houses outside of the Targaryens. So it makes sense that one would like to see the other be taken down a peg. So by Otto letting Corlys, deal with this problem all his own and not lend any support, that helps in raising the high towers and making Old Town more, because Old Town's also a port city that prospers on trade.
Right. And so the trade that isn't going to up the narrow sea would be going to Old Town potentially. So yeah,
exactly.
Sounds like Otto's friends with the triarchy.
Well, triarchy also same folks that killed Prince Aemon. I mean, it was pirates from the triarchy that killed Prince Aemon. So that was a
crossbowmen.
That may have been Old Town arranging that as well. So yeah, there's a thing there. So let me put you guys on to that scene with Alicent and Rhaenyra in the Godswood, where Alicent was coming to collect Rhaenyra for the hunt, and they were fighting over sending the bard away, who might be Mushroom, by the way. That might be their version of Mushroom, that singer. I'm just throwing it out there that there could be approximately a similar...
Well, okay.
Because Mushroom's tied to Rhaenyra. And so this is like Rhaenyra's personal, bitch singer that she's treating very poorly. She's treating him like a CD player that isn't working right. She's like, damn it, I told you to play that song. I need to go get Cleo. You guys talk about that scene. I'll be right back.
But no, actually that singer reminded me more of the one that's supposed to be in the Vale with Sansa and Littlefinger. That wasn't in the show. Maybe this is George being like, I want a singer in the background of many scenes. So this is his chance to like kind of rewrite how that.
Are you talking about the one that like accompanied Catelyn and Tyrion to the Vale? The Blue Bard?
In the books.
Yeah, him.
I think he had one scene on the Game of Thrones show where he like testified and then or something like that. But it wasn't enough, probably, according to George. But no, I remember what I was saying about Viserys drinking more and more. I feel like Rhaenyra hasn't talked to him in 2 years. And I mean like a proper conversation. She might say, hey, Dad, pass the grits. I don't know. They probably don't eat grits. I love grits. But I feel like imagine your daughter who reminds you of the wife that you loved not talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the silent treatment, only saying words that need to be said and nothing else. And it's kind of like, okay, are we done here? All right, then I'm heading, okay, then I'm
Like
gonna
how
head
she
out.
talks to Alicent. Like how she talks to Alicent is how she talks to her dad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would you, putting yourself in Rhaenyra's shoes, if your stepmom was the same age as you, could you really see them as an authority figure over you?
Crazy. It's crazy. That's one thing,
Mhm.
you guys know, I still, no matter what, I still hate Alicent. I'm going to be the one to remind everyone to hate Alicent. And it's like the show's making her so sympathetic. Like, just the difference between show and books. Alicent's 9 years older than Rhaenyra. When Rhaenyra's 9 and named the heir, Alicent's 18. So it's like making them the same age, making them lay on each other's laps. Like, yeah, I can't imagine what Rhaenyra's going through, like the betrayal, and it looks like Alicent didn't do anything to mend it. Alicent just kept going like everything's okay, we're still gonna be friends, instead of having that hard conversation with her. That's the other betrayal. Sure, she might, like, if we're gonna assume that Rhaenyra might be bi, sure, it could be like that romantic loss as well. Like, girl, I was trying to marry you, and you went and married my dad. Like, it could be on that type of thing. But it's also just like if they're just platonic best friends, could you imagine how much that hurts? And for her to be like, "It's okay, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
nice to you." No, we have
And
to have
going
that hard conversation.
And going back to that singer, you can tell that like Alicent likes it because she's being referred to as your grace, and there is a power play there when Rhaenyra's like, "No, your princess commands you, sing the song," and then Alicent's like, "Your queen commands you, go back." And that poor singer is like, "Oh shit, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?" It's like when both your parents are telling you to do something, and you're like, "Who do I listen to?" So like, I feel worse. The one I feel the worst for in that scene is the singer.
The singer, you feel like the singer's terror. Absolutely, it's like, I don't want to be here.
Like, pulls out his cell phone and he was like, "Varys, where does power reside? Do I listen to the queen? Do I listen to the
Phone a friend. Phone a friend.
Varys." No.
Okay. So look, interesting. So okay, first thing you notice is that Alicent is speaking to Rhaenyra like a mother now and not a best friend. So that dynamic has completely shifted because she has married Rhaenyra's father, and all of Viserys' consternations about relating to his daughter are now going to go into Alicent's ear. So Alicent is going to be thinking about Rhaenyra more as a daughter than a friend. So you can see that dynamic is very uncomfortable. But on the other side, Alicent doesn't hate Rhaenyra either. She's still like, speaks up for her a few times. And, there's the telling scene where Otto's pressing Aegon's claim. And she's like, I don't want to raise my son to steal his sister's, throne. And so you see you see some stuff from Fire and Blood that they're pulling ahead and using in different, like in Fire and Blood, it's actually Alicent that suggests that Aegon and Rhaenyra get betrothed. And here it's Otto making this suggestion. But they're making use of stuff from Fire and Blood and pulling it forward. So much to say about Rhaenyra in this episode. But the first thing is the Alicent dynamic has shifted in a way that's not comfortable for Rhaenyra, obviously.
Yeah. They're making Alicent sympathetic. It won't work on me, though.
Well, I mean, I think that... what you have to remember is that they're making her sympathetic as a change-up.
Better storytelling.
Well, as a change-up, like there's no getting around the fact that she's turning into a political manipulator. I mean, I think what they're trying to show is with Rhaenyra and Alicent and characters like Cersei and Dany, and of course George talks about meaning to contrast Cersei and Dany's, efforts at ruling as women, is like, how do these different female characters respond to the obstacle of the patriarchy? In the end, the patriarchy is just an obstacle like anybody else's. Every character has obstacles in their way. So for the female characters who are trying to be queen or are supposed to be queen, that's their issue. So Alicent, she responds to this thing by essentially doing it the classic way. She marries a powerful man. That gives her a certain amount of power, obviously. As we saw in the Godswood, she wielded the power casually and easily. But Rhaenyra has a dragon, and she is attempting to be queen, and that is an entirely different path. That is more a path of defiance, but that's the one that set out for her because she was named the heir. So let's get into sticking with Rhaenyra. There's several scenes that are emphasizing how badly she's doing with playing politics. Like, for example, we find out that Viserys has been trying to set her up with different people, different assholes like Jason for the last 2 years, let's say, okay? Let's assume most of these courtly princes are jerks. You know, they haven't been through the mud like Kristen Cole. They're not tested. Okay, we'll get to him. But Rhaenyra should be, if she's concerned with her power base and the idea that she could be set aside, she should be using this chance to meet with all these future high lords of the great houses to curry favor. Even if she's not going to marry them, she should be establishing a relationship because she needs the support of the high lords, and she needs them to feel it and to mean it. And we saw that with Beesbury in the last episode, where she had to be reminded to thank Beesbury and just even be graceful to him. And Otto's like, they're important, by the way. You might at least say something nice and not just frown at him. You know what I mean? So, like, they're showing that Rhaenyra is young and impulsive and emotional. And that's cool, because otherwise we'd be complaining about how she's too advanced and too poised and all this and that. Like, she's clearly emotional. She's doing a rebellious teen thing. She's pouting. She's storming out of the room. And all this stuff. To me, there was a changeover when the stag thing happened. She came back to the camp with a different poise and stroll to her. It could turn into the thing like where after Dany's dragon dream, she changes her character and she settles into what she's doing and embraces the role. So I'm wondering if maybe that was a turning point for Rhaenyra, because they really played up her, like, you know, brattiness, if you want to say, you know, just teenage rebellion angst. So, guys, what do you think about that? What do you think of that? And of course, Viserys, Viserys, of course, is not teaching her. Like, he should be telling her, now, when you meet with these high lords, you should be using this to all the shit that I said. He should have been telling her, and clearly he's not. So this is a failure on both Rhaenyra and Viserys. I just want to be clear, but go ahead.
No, yeah, totally agree. But also, would Rhaenyra be receptive to Viserys right now, giving her any type of advice or instruction? But actually, for my hero of the week, I was going to say Kristen Cole. And the reason was because I was going to say that, like, he was able to calm her down. Because like you were saying, they're playing that juxtaposition of her being super bratty, like Sansa when she was like, Septa, I don't want to see your hair. Like, she kind of being like that type, only for the end for her to just come out a little bit more mature. And the difference was Kristen Cole. He was able to calm her down, get her to actually kind of talk out her feelings, like the root of what's bothering her, protected her, did all this stuff just in like one little date or outing. And when she came back, she was completely changed. So let's see if she can continue this energy of, number one, fighting for herself. She was the one that delivered that killing blow to the hog. And number two, showing mercy, being tough when you need to be, showing mercy when you need to. So let's see if she continues that energy. Come on, Queen.
Stephanie's making a comment in the chat, and then I'll go to you, Tim, that sounds very similar to what we just said about Damon. Stephanie said, it's interesting that Rhaenyra does so well when she defies her father's infantilizing of her, like the hunt and the bridge scene. So it's almost like Damon. It's like when you give him an obstacle and you push against him, then he pushes back in a focused way. And Alicent picks up on that when she says Rhaenyra's got to think that it's her idea. And by the way, thought that was a perfectly ambiguous line from Alicent, to where that could sound nefarious or could just sound like a very accurate assessment of how you deal with a contrarian teenager. Be like, you can't force them to, it has to be their decision. But it also is like, they must think it's their idea. So it's very ambiguous, but
just like her dad. Like, Alicent's like Otto in that moment, like, kind of like, that's where she gets it from. Like,
he does drop the ambiguous lines. Yeah, you're right.
Like, make you think it's your idea. That's what Otto always tries to do to Viserys.
Somebody in
And
somebody in the
Alicent's
comments
doing it.
pointed out recently to me that whenever anyone wants to manipulate Viserys, they tell him he's the king. Well, you're a king. They have to listen to you when you do what I'm about to tell you to do.
Make him think it's his idea.
So from like my point, when we think of like Rhaenyra, like not fully grasping like being bad at the politicking, I feel like she's putting way too much weight in the oaths that these High Lords took 2 years ago, and not realizing like, no, you gotta like you're putting too much weight in their words. But like I said in the episode 2 stream, words are wind. Like a lot of these lords, they're gonna forget, like, unless you're constantly reminding them. They'll be like, hey, that was Wednesday Borman who said that. This is Friday Borman. He's a totally different guy. Especially now that a brother has been born, because people are eyeing up baby Aegon and being like, no, of course he's going to set her aside. And it's like, no, it takes it's going to take both Viserys and Rhaenyra to be like, no, what was said stands. Rhaenyra's still the heir. You need that from Viserys, and you need that from Rhaenyra backing it up. Like, remember the words that you swore to me and the words that you swore to my father. But we're not going to get that because Viserys is too weak. Now, we see it sort of come out, but also he's drinking. And sometimes you get that, like, you know, that drunk bravery where you kind of say what you truly mean. And I think that's what we saw from Viserys when he was in his cups. But once he sobers up, he's going to go back to being that malleable puppet king that we've seen so far.
So drunken Viserys was very interesting. Some stuff came out there with the dreaming in particular. Okay, he said, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it's related to drunk Viserys. So he said he's starting to talk to Alicent about the dreams and stuff, and he says, you know, many Targaryens have been dragon riders, but only a few have been dreamers. And then he talks about, it sounds like he's losing his faith in the dream, and he starts telling her about putting his son on the throne and how he was convinced it was Emma Arryn's. And then the saddest line, my obsession killed my wife. So it's kind of true. Yeah. And he's cognizant of it and very much feeling guilty about it. So that obviously makes us feel for Viserys. I mean, at least he's aware of it, right? And not oblivious to that. So he's chewing on his guilt. Then he starts fessing up about all the real reasons why he made Rhaenyra the heir. Two things. One, to spite Damon and to spare the realm from Damon. And also, two, because he was feeling guilty about Emma, and it felt like a way to honor Emma by making her daughter the heir. Right. These are both emotional, personal reasons, not strategic political reasons. You could argue that the Damon thing is somewhat strategic, but it still strikes me as mostly emotional.
It's your brother, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So just like we were saying with Damon, like these Targaryens are making decisions based on emotion. And of course, Rhaenyra calls Viserys out for his hypocrisy finally too.
Mm-hmm. And there's that scene like when he's having that those words with Jason Lannister, where he even says, like, do you think I made Rhaenyra the heir on a whim? Like, I did not make her on a whim. And it's like, yeah, you did.
You did,
totally
actually.
Did. Yeah. And then he did, and then he's by the fire and he admits it, and like now he's totally drunk, and the truth comes out. It's like, yeah, I made her heir on a whim. I did it to spite Damon. Like all the things that Rhaenyra knows, Viserys is finally admitting, and it all comes out when he's drunk. So I find it like that they went that route, like, because that's a very real life thing, that like when you're drunk off your ass, the truth comes out, and then you start having all your feelings come out, and you start saying all the things that you've been keeping in.
And he also,
it's like
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's like, who would have thought that the sentence "heir for a day" could change the world? Like talking about doing it on a whim and because he's in his feelings.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, like, when I'm talking about real world politics with my best friend Shad, if you watched my conversation with the Deadhead stream, then you know Shad. We always talk about how politics is personal. At the end of the day, the relationships between these world leaders matters a lot. What you say in a meeting matters a lot. The little things matter. Courtesies matter in diplomacy. So It really occurred to me how badly both Viserys and Rhaenyra are failing here at politics. They both talk about not wanting to play politics. Like, Rhaenyra doesn't even want to go on the hunt. She should be using the hunt. Anytime the High Lords are gathered to do any fucking thing, it's time to play politics. And it's time to consolidate your support and figure out what your enemy is doing and all that. And neither Viserys or Rhaenyra are embracing that. Viserys is like, oh, these politics are following me around. Like, you're the goddamn king. Of literally, the politics revolve around you, bro. It's
yeah. And Rhaenyra gets that dig in on him. Like, look at... Like, Rhaenyra gets that dig in on Viserys. Like, look, if it was about strengthening the family, if it was about strengthening the realm, you would have married Laena Velaryon. But no, like, Viserys, and then Viserys admits, like, yeah, I married someone I like. Like, he's stuck, and it's all about his emotions. He went with what he felt instead of what was right for the role. He's stuck in a glass candle of emotions. But then he finally gives that choice to Rhaenyra. It's like, okay, yeah, you're right. I fucked up. I didn't do the political I didn't take the good political opportunity by marrying Laena Velaryon. I went with what I wanted, which was Alicent. Someone that I felt like I could be with more on an emotional level than I could with a purely political marriage. So now I'm going to give you that choice. Go find who makes you happy.
So, Tim, were you reminded of Egg there when he let his kids marry for love because he married for love? Isn't that Egg?
Yeah. Because and that's the other thing. Like, Egg, his wife is Bethel Blackwood. Yeah, because it's Black Betty. She designs all of these political marriages that are going to strengthen the realm, but each kid breaks it off because of their own, for their own wants. Now, to Egg's credit, like, Egg married Bethel Blackwood for love, but he was also so far down the line of succession, it was allowed because no one thought he was going to become king. But when it does, he does recognize, like, okay, yeah, you're right. I did do this. I mean, my circumstances were different because I had 3 older brothers, and even my own father had 3 older brothers. Like, no one thought I was going to be. That's why he's Aegon the Unlikely. Like, no one thought he was going to make it to the throne with that many people in line ahead of him. But yeah, it's a definite parallel right there.
Yeah, but do we know if Viserys married Alicent for love? Viserys reminds me of, like, the guy who cheats on his wife, but it has to be her sister, a coworker, the neighbor, just like the nearest thing, because he just can't be bothered to go to the next town or cheat responsibly. So it's like, Viserys is like, who's around? Oh, I've seen Alicent like twice today.
So Viserys married for fondness, not for love.
Fondness.
For fondness. He was like, I'm kind of comfortable with her. I could grow into a relationship, because that's how you look at it with political matches. You're just looking for somebody half decent that you could learn to love a little bit. And he didn't want to marry a damn 12-year-old. And there's also, of course, the argument to be made that if the concern is to make more heirs, someone who's 16 is better than someone who's 12. But in the end, it was clear that he did it because of his own personal comfort and not strategy. And Rhaenyra successfully called him on that. And then I think that probably is what led to Viserys giving her the choice. But also the good advice of Larry Strong, and there was a super chat a minute ago, shout out. Lionel, I keep calling him, we did see the clubfoot finally, the younger guy. That was cool.
Yeah.
We saw them both. We saw Breakbones and Larys.
Oh, I missed Breakbones.
He's when we first see Larys dragging his foot, Breakbones is the other guy right next to him.
Okay. But Shadow Demon says, shout out to Lionel Strong, true advisor to the king and maybe not a leech. Yeah, I mean, we sort of expect everyone to have ulterior motives, but maybe Lionel Strong's actually just giving good advice.
No, yeah. I even liked him in text because it gave they said that he was a big brute and people expected him to be stupid, but he actually forged how many links at the Citadel. So
True.
That already struck me as no, this guy's fair and balanced. But I have a theory that the clubfoot is faking his affliction. So when I saw that his affliction was like a metal boot, I'm like, okay, that's something that anybody can take on and take off. So let's see if I'm right. Thank you very much.
And without spoiling it, I will just tell you that Fire and Blood has a cute little mystery at the end of Lares' story that raises the question of whether or not he was ever crippled. So there
That's
is
what I'm
a
saying.
so there is a I'm just filling in people who may not have picked up on it. So there is a theory that he's faking it so that he can go out in disguise without his fake crippled foot and not limp, and that way no one would ever think it was him. That's the theory that she's talking about. So that would be cool. That would be very interesting. Of course, I also think it would be cool to have a disabled character, obviously, that just literally has a club foot, and that's just his thing. So we will see.
Cool too, yeah.
We will see. Marcus Wynn says Viserys wasn't raised to be king. He got the abridged version. And David, where the bird's at? Well, Cleo's been here a little bit, but she was biting at my gear there. And Goose is in the room because he's too noisy. He always chirps when I'm out, when I talk, so I can't have him out here. So Viserys, I mean, he was raised by Prince Balon and Alyssa, who at least would have raised him with court politics, kind of education.
Yeah.
So maybe not to be king, but he's definitely been raised as a part of the royal family. And Viserys has been king for long enough time now to where he needs to have embraced it instead of constantly not embracing what his actual job is, which is kind of a running thing with Viserys. Thoughts, Tim? And then I'll pull up a different scene.
Well, when Jaehaerys names Balon as his heir, then it seems like Viserys should have been raised with the idea of becoming king. Because if Balon hadn't died and had ascended the throne after Jaehaerys, then Viserys would have naturally been the next in line.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yep, as well. So Rhaenyra, we kind of already gone over this, but good dialogue. It's of no consequence what I think, as I'm constantly reminded. Now, we saw that. Remember, we saw that last episode. Not only was she shushed in the small council when she talked about the Dragon Riders, when she tried to follow it up in a private conversation with her dad, he shut her down again. And was like, yeah, you'll learn. And she was going to say something, and then you could see her like slump in her seat and be like, okay. So she's been carrying that wound for 2 years now and has just gotten increasingly alienated. And that's perhaps why there was, it seems almost a little over the top how like angsty she is like she's really gotten locked into this headspace for 2 years that she is just an empty placeholder, that her father doesn't really want her opinion and all this stuff. And it really culminates at this tourney here at the hunt with the Jason Lannister thing, which just shows her that, yep, everybody else is assuming that you're going to get set aside too. And so then she kind of blows her top. So I think it was, I think overall it was pretty good writing, because we need to, when we have these time skips, it's going to seem dramatic that somebody's in a different place mentally, but that's important to consider. Like, you have to backfill mentally, like, what's happened. Well, they've showed it to you throughout the episode. They haven't been talking. She doesn't feel like her opinion. She's constantly reminded in various ways that her opinion doesn't really count. So her being dismissed in the small council has probably continued to happen, if she's even bothered to speak up. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I love this episode because it really showed like two sides of being a woman. Allison's showing what it feels like to go along with the patriarchy and use it to your advantage. And then Rhaenyra is showing like what it's like to fight against it. And in both cases, you could win at life, giving in. You could win at life fighting against it, but you could also lose in both ways. So I just love this dynamic.
I think the writing going on is really good. There's just like so much going on. Let me real quick, Tim, do you have a thought on a cap on what we're just talking about? And then I'm going to run through some super chats.
No, just going back to Lionel Strong. I did say like last episode when you had asked me my opinion on him that I felt like he was giving Viserys honest advice. And we see it again here. Like, I do think that I think this episode cemented that further. Like, I do think of the small council, Lord Strong is like the only one who's really being straight with Viserys. Because Viserys even says, like, let me guess, you're going to name your son. And Lionel's like, no, actually, I'm going to name Laenor. And my reasoning stands for the same reasons I told you 2 years ago. So it's like, yeah, I really do think that Lionel Strong is being straight with Viserys. Probably the only, besides Damon, the only person who's been straight with Viserys.
Okay, so yes, I think it has to be considered that he might actually be honest. We might have an honest person on the show.
What?
But I don't want to jump to any
Whoa.
conclusions because he was a major piece of the Maester conspiracy when I was sketching it out. So that's why I don't know. We'll have to see. So Michael David was saying, pointing out that Damon's last words to Viserys were about him being weak. Rhaenyra is also rejecting him. How is Rhaenyra rejecting him? Confronting him. I'm not sure if he's, I guess, just refusing to take his advice, or basically constantly fighting him on everything that he's trying to do, right? So Viserys is drinking because he missed Damon's presence and realizes he was right about everything. I do think that there's a lot of that with Viserys.
Yes.
You know, you could see in that moment that he knew Damon was speaking the truth, and that's why it was such a sore spot. And then we just see example after example of Viserys just, auto running a game on Viserys and manipulating him at will, like a sock puppet, like I said. So, yeah, you could see Tim mentioned it already. I think that's why I skipped over the super chat. Tim was mentioning, like, Viserys' isolation. He's got the walls up. He's drinking, and, like, yeah, you could really tell. But let me go back here and try to catch up with some of these that I missed. We'll try to go rapid fire here. Let's see. Targaryens finally took out the stag today. A little foreshadowing, perhaps, but it's a bloody mess when they do, I guess you could say. I thought Sea Smoke was silver gray with pink wings. Yep, that's what I saw, silver and gray with pink wings, so I'm not sure what the confusion was. That's what it looked like to me. Trey Diaz, I wish there could have been a fight between the crab feeder and Damon. Yeah, I can't say that one was better off screen. I would have liked to seen that. It was cool when he came out with the corpse. I think what they're doing is they're attempting to retain some of the fire and blood aspect of the unreliable narrator, where if something happens in secret and most people don't see it, then we don't get to see it. And we get the same perspective as everyone else on the battlefield, which is that we saw Damon walk out with the crab feeder. Similarly to the egg stealing, no one saw that. Everyone found out about that in that letter. And so that's how we found out. Same with Alicent and Viserys. Their relationship is mostly off screen. We're left to guess how far it's gone. That's what everyone else in the court would be guessing. Is like, oh, are they a thing? How far has that gone? So I think it's more of that. I would have liked to seen the fight. So I hear you, but Bearded
I'm okay
Pants.
with that.
Oh, go ahead. If you and you guys can jump in on any of these if you have thoughts. Go ahead.
No, I just said I'm okay with that. The fight. I mean, seeing him take out like 20 guys, like I'm like that's enough. I get the point that
We saw a bunch
and
of
they were
fighting,
different.
right? It's like they're gonna hit the swords, and then sooner or later Damon's gonna chop them, and there you go. I mean, we've seen it, so yeah.
There's gonna be better one-on-ones later on. I feel like.
Yeah, I am disappointed that like Damon didn't get to feed the crab feeder to the crabs, but maybe that's just too corny. It was kind of cool that he like literally cut him in half with Dark Sister and brought out like his upper torso. That was pretty barbaric.
So gross.
Yeah, it was gross. He dropped him off in the surf at least, so the crabs will eat him. So
We should have brought it back to King's Landing.
from crabs we come, to crabs we will return. Well, you see in the shot of he's going to bring something. He's going to bring his hammer, I think.
Okay.
We've seen Damon with the hammer. Let's see here. These are mostly ones that I got. Niall Dunn says, peace offering, love having the instant reactions. What are you guys thinking of the portrayal of Lionel? Okay, so we answered that one. He seems like genuine and wise advisor. Love the actor, so we're all in agreement. Michael David, oh no, I read that one.
I just wanted to say another thing about Lionel is that one of the best things he said was when Viserys was like doubting himself as a father and therefore like the leader of the country. He was like, what about Jaehaerys? He's the best king we've ever had. And every single one of his daughters was a nightmare. So I love that he said that. Because that would make him feel better because it's true.
Yeah, that's just more signs of how much Ryan, is a fanboy and loves going into the lore and is not treating it like an inconvenience but rather something fun to use, which is a different approach than we've seen before. Hugo says, is Damon attacking alone the triarchy? Oh, no, I read that one. Sorry. Christy says, yeah, Jason was a tool. Rhaenyra was right to run from that. I might have read that one, but that's true. Want to read it again. For the ambush to work, they'd have to think the dragon was benched, no Caraxes. So that means it was Laenor's first dragon attack. No, Laenor, that doesn't mean that at all. I'm confused why you would think that. We did see that Damon sailed there. He didn't come on Caraxes. That was definitely part of the attempt to lure out the crab feeder. But I don't think that was Laenor's first dragon attack. I'm not sure why you would think that. I must be confusing something. Do you think Viserys' lost 2 fingers represent Damon and Rhaenyra? Oh, that's good, Leslie. That makes sense. That does make sense, actually. I like that. Yeah. Bearded Pants, like I said, was the one who said the real triarchy is this stream.
Woohoo! Thank you, Bearded Pants.
In real time. Pants? Oh, sorry, what?
I said, thank you, Bearded Pants, and then I laughed at their name.
Yeah, it's a good one. And then Katrina says, your point on the 2 forms of women navigating the realms of patriarchy is a great one. It'll be interesting to see the outcome. Yeah, like I said, that comes straight from George. Originally, Feast and Dance were supposed to be one book, and we would have gotten Cersei and Dany's rule in the same intercut with each other, and we would have been naturally comparing them. So he's talked about that a few times.
Yeah. Just for that point about, I think what they were saying about Sea Smoke and this being the first dragon attack, okay, this is the first one we see of Sea Smoke on screen, but you gotta keep in mind, this war has been going on for 2 years now. Yeah. And remember that Damon line about the dragons can circle around all day, it doesn't matter. I think the implication is that there's been numerous dragon attacks, but the triarchy keeps melting away into the caves. And the dragons just aren't, the dragons alone aren't enough to win this war because of the way the triarchy is fighting, because they're using these Dornish playbook methods.
Yeah, and you could tell both sides have a procedure for the dragons. The enemy calls, they know what to do when they see them, and the offensive side as well. They've got tactics for the dragons, and so yeah.
Yeah, it's like the war is at a stalemate at this point because of that, because the dragons can only do so much, but if the enemy's not out in the open, then what can the dragons do? They can burn the landscape, but it doesn't matter if the enemy's not there.
So if I haven't read your super chat, by the way, I'm going through them now, so just hang tight. And if I didn't read yours after I say that I'm done with this, then let me know. Desmond says, did anyone else notice the Lannister twin? The twins are the same actor as Sir Hugh of the Vale from Game of Thrones. I think I knew that. Yeah. So shout out to Sir Hugh. He's back. Let's see. Read that one. Otto, Patrick voting for Otto as the villain, the villain, of course. Allison at this stage, Villicent. Oh boy, hashtag Villicent. There you go.
Alicent the Villicent. Hey!
Yeah. Well, of course, Alicent sounds like it's meant to sound like innocent. So, Villicent. There you go. Alicent at this stage is still trying to be Rhaenyra's friend until he I don't know that I would say friend, but at least you could tell that she cares for her and thinks well of her.
Or being friendly.
Friendly, yeah. Yeah, they can't quite be friends, but definitely trying to extend olive branches and Alicent actually, I liked the way that she was handling Viserys. She was you could tell she had gained power in the relationship, and Viserys was sort of dithering about the stepstones, and it was Alicent that was like, well, isn't it better for the realm if we win the war than lose the war? She kind of guided him through the fog there and got him to do the right thing as king. And people do periodically have to remind Viserys that he has to do king stuff. Lionel reminds him. Tywin Lannister is now doing it because Corlys is gone, so it's Tywin dude, there's a war. It's kind of important. Please pay attention to this. So there's got to be people doing that. And now Alicent is doing that. And Alicent also did that in Fire and Blood. So I think that's consistent, that Alicent does have good political advice. She is basically trying to settle everything down and just stabilize things. That's kind of what she wants at this point. in the story. That may change over time, but at this point, yeah, she's just trying to keep the peace. So I like how she's handling Viserys. You could tell she's grown into the role, like I said, not chewing on the fingernails, seems comfortable being queen, you know.
I have a question that seems off topic, but has to do with Alicent handling Viserys. Was a caution for the cautionary tale for young girls, was that written about a high tower? A caution for young girls?
That's a question for Tim. I don't remember. No, I
You know,
think it's
you
about.
remember that book, right?
No, I think it's supposed to be about one of Jaehaerys'
Corianne
daughters.
Wilder?
Oh, Corianne Wilder.
No. They name drop it in. It's when those old ladies, the old Lannister and the old lady Redwine, are talking about the triarchy taking one of Lord Swan's ships. It's one of those girls that's taken and then sold into as a bed slave in a Lysine pillow house. The book is supposed to be based on her.
No, Joanna Lannister gets captured with the whole Stepstones things. She gets sold into. But
I think that's what they were referencing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, if Alicent's able to handle Viserys this well, this early, I feel
Joanna Swan, not Joanna Lannister. That's a different Joanna.
Okay. I heard Joanna, so I immediately thought Lannister, because that's...
Yeah, no. It was Joanna Swan was abducted, and that's who the book is. That's who the story is about.
Tim, I'm so sorry. Tim, it just came full circle. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. There were a lot of references.
When you correct someone and you're wrong. Okay,
From the Garth the Green stuff to the name dropping on Sign's importance to that, there were a lot of references in this episode.
And no, Jason Lannister does not have dragon eggs. He was saying that he could build a home for dragons at Casterly Rock. That's what he was saying. And he does have the money and the space to do it, so that is true. Shout out to Brienne's fat sister, who points out that Nanny Vagar could have melted those darned rock caves. Yes, she could have. Her fires would have been hot enough to reach in there. But yeah. So let me keep going with these super chats here. Jen M calls Viserys the villain. He's definitely failing. Hero Sir Kristen Cole. Yeah, we gave Kristen Cole a shout out. I thought it was telling how Viserys turned to Kristen Cole first when he was looking for Rhaenyra. So that's very subtly implying that, like, you know, he watches out for Rhaenyra. He's watching that ass. You know what I'm saying? So Robert Pettit says, tinfoil theory. King's Landing Weirwood was brought by Alysanne after her Northern Congress, left out of Fire and Blood because the contributing septon thought it would paint Jaehaerys as an apostate. Yeah, I like that, actually. They do have to explain it in the sense that, like, it's not supposed to be there by the time of Robert and Ned and all that. It's an oak tree as a heart tree. So I think that that's not an error. I think they're going to show us that it gets ripped out or something at a certain point. So maybe they'll have a story about how it got there. But it might have always been there, too. We'll have to see, because there's always been, like, little settlements on those hills. So it could be that they built the Godswood around a pre-existent Weirwood. We don't know. We'll see. We don't even know if Weirwoods can be planted anyways without dead people. Could the stag be a Greenseeger warging, Evangelium? I don't think so. I don't know that there would be any clues about that, and I don't think Greenseers are really going to play a role in this story. They are maybe doing a little something with Weirwood lore, but if there's Greenseers involved, that's a complete change from Fire and Blood. There was not really any hints of warging, so I think it's just symbolism. Vasey Jr. says, is no one going to confront the Rhaenyra nonsense changes? She ain't ever been merciful. This is so weird. Weird fake kindness now afforded to the women. I'll take care of this. Look, they were going to have to flesh out these characters. Fire and Blood does not tell us much about the personalities of the characters. We're left to guess based on action. So every character, they've been filling out personality aspects. Now, Rhaenyra is showing us all kinds of bad attributes. She's ordering people around. She's being imperious. She's wasting her opportunities. She's doing a lot of stuff that's critical, but it wouldn't be very interesting if that was all they showed of her, and it wouldn't leave any room for growth, or I don't know. So, like, yeah, they're also showing that she has a good side as well. I don't know why you have a problem with that. It sounds like you got fixated on Rhaenyra being an awful person by reading the account of Fire and Blood, and now you're upset that you don't see your version of what you thought. Not to be rude, but I knew this would happen, that people would lock on to various interpretations of Fire and Blood and then be upset when they didn't see that on the show. Well, that's not what they're choosing to portray. So you can react to it how you want, I guess, but you should have expected that this would happen. I also warned you that characters that seemed awful, which is most of the characters in Fire and Blood seemed awful when you read Fire and Blood, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to be made more sympathetic, especially at first. So there's some undertones in that comment I didn't care for also, I will just say. But whatever. Alana Prustain of Bravo says, do you think Alicent will be portrayed differently as time goes on? She does always do what Daddy says. Kind of, but I think they undercut the whole Alicent power structure by showing us that Hobart is actually ordering around Otto, and they're also showing us that Alicent, being the wife of the king, has a certain amount of power that Otto can't touch. And she is growing into her role as queen. She didn't really throw her weight around too much, but we saw that she persuaded Viserys to change course in the Stepstones. And that was actually countermanding what her father was doing, if indeed her father is slow playing that to bleed Corlys. So Alicent was putting the realm first and gave Viserys different advice than maybe what Otto would have wanted. So I do think we are now beginning to see a little bit of branching to where Alicent has her own power base to work with, and maybe we'll use that in the future. Tim, your thoughts, buddy?
Oh yeah. When Alicent is now, let me gather my thoughts. When Alicent says what she says to Viserys, when she raises that question, like, okay, let's make this a simpler question: is it better for the realm if the crab feeder prospers, or is it better if he's taken out? And yeah, you can definitely see, like, it's a great way of playing, but she is, in her own way, she is now playing Viserys. So we do see, like, the seeds sprouting of her coming into her own, getting out under the grip of her father and working Viserys to her own ends. And that's not to say, like, that all of her ends are going to be self-serving or selfish, because what she says raises a point. Like, look, even if Corlys Velaryon is the one getting hurt the most by the crab feeder, it does affect all of us by not taking care of this problem, by letting it fester. Because, you know, maybe Old Town is profiting by being that second hub that Driftmark can't be at the moment, but eventually, if shit keeps up the way it is, Old Town's going to be feeling the hurt too, because if the triarchy is allowed to continue doing what they're doing, the High Towers are going to be charged those same tolls. The High Towers are going to have their ships taken, and it's soon it's going to affect everyone else. Think of like if it starts spreading to other lords, like if the Manderley ships start getting taken out, like trying to get back to White Harbor, then you're going to have the North pissed off. If like, you got to remember, like, every kingdom has its, every part of the Seven Kingdoms, from the North, the Vale, the Western, they all have their own port towns. So eventually, this is not just going to hurt Corlys anymore. This is going to come to hurt Manderleys, Lannisters, Darklands, anyone who relies on trade. Eventually, the triarchy is going to fuck them over too.
Gabe the Griffin is joking about Alicent having to use crayons for Viserys.
Damn. Damn.
So is it bad if we lose a war? It is, right? I mean, I'm just a little girl. I don't know the ways of war, but if losing war is bad, right? Oh,
man,
we
had Legos last episode and now crayon.
So Legos and crayons. I mean, yeah, Viserys, he is a Tommen-like figure, after all.
I know. When Tommen's like, wait, Cersei and Marjorie aren't getting along? Aren't you guys getting along? It's like,
He just wants to play with cats and stamp papers. But
Alicent and Rhaenyra don't like each other? Yeah.
I need to put Rhaenyra. I need to put Cleo to bed. She was same energy as Rhaenyra had this episode. I will just say, Cleo sometimes a little bit of spoiled princess. I usually think
it was a loud episode.
Yeah, well, the birds do not care for the dragon noises particularly. There's a lot of they do not care for that. So.
How interesting. You need to do a reaction channel for your birds reacting to House of the Dragon.
I'll file that away in my idea box. So let me put you on to a different. Well, what have we not discussed so far? We'll get into Rhaenyra and Kristen a little bit. And that should keep you busy for half a second while I whisper sweet nothings to Cleo and break the news that it's bedtime. So, okay. That's your cue. You guys talk now.
That's our cue to talk about Rhaenyra and Kristen.
Rhaenyra and Kristen.
So yeah, I already kind of said what I thought.
Or whatever. I don't mean to be constrictive. If the chat wants to go different,
I wanted to hear Tim's. I wanted to hear what Tim had to say. I don't think you talked about that.
Okay, and Tim, you can unleash your triarchy after that if you want to.
Oh, I was going to save that for when we do the ranking on the episode. That's going to be my tirade. It's coming. But for Kristen Cole, okay, so as someone who's read the books, the show's like really making me hate myself for liking him at the moment. But it's like it's the same way I kind of feel about. It's the same way I kind of feel about Lionel Strong, though. It's like, yeah, I like him for now, for now. But knowing what happens. But that's the other thing is like we kind of don't know because you don't know what direction the show is going to take.
I've always liked Kristen Cole.
Yeah, which plot line they're going to go with. But right now, Kristen Cole, because he is our best representation of Team Smallfolk, he has that line to Rhaenyra, like, look, like, I am. This is the highest spot that any Cole has ever been in. Like everything that I have now, I owe to you. And like we said, like you had said in your own when you were talking about it, like that brings Rhaenyra down. Like, it kind of grounds her, and it gets a smile out of her face. Something that she probably hasn't had for a while, and it comes from Kristen Cole. So it's just like, but it sets it up so it's going to be like such a slap in the face when the heel turn happens down the road.
Also, if you want to make any girl fall in love with you, you're going to say you're not like the other girls, but also even though you might not be important or pretty to everyone else, you're everything to me. His point was saying that like you think you're down on the dumps, you think you don't have power, but you've changed my life. Like you're important to me. So it's like there's no way for her to not be attracted to him. And even if obviously he wasn't doing that on purpose, but I'm just pointing that out. Like that line to me reverbed so much harder because if I'm single and looking to be in a relationship with someone, that's what I want to hear. That you see me different than I see myself.
Also, it helps to be able to say like, do you want me to kill that guy for you?
Yeah.
Because that guy sucks, and I will totally kill that guy for you.
I wrote that down. That was really funny. That was such a good, like, icebreaker,
Yeah.
That was a remark that indicated that's like something a friend says to another friend that they know really well. Like their friend is mad, and they can see they're mad. They know they're not mad at them, and they know just the right thing to say to cut the tension. So that was that was another, like, they're showing us that they already have a good friendship or whatever. So they've got, a connection. So
yeah.
And I heard you guys talking about it, but it did move me when Kristen was like, this is the highest any Cole has ever risen, and it's all thanks to you. I was like, damn, dude, that's heartfelt, real talk.
Yeah.
So continue to be the people's champion. That's right, Tim. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, okay.
But is he going to give anyone the people's elbow?
Okay, that's different.
We'll see. But yeah, Tim, don't feel bad for liking Kristen.
Yeah, the rock belongs to Vhagar. Anyway, Vhagar sleeps on the rock. Vhagar's like that old woman in the Black Hole Sun video, ironing, watching the handsome young guy do the push-ups on the floor. You guys remember that? Anybody? Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden?
I just think of the idea of
Somebody
Vhagar
will get it. It's all right.
I think of Vhagar sunbathing on a rock, and it just makes me remember my iguana Angus growing up. Like, that's the picture in my mind of Vhagar.
I did some good work today. I called into Tony's show as Vhagar. And,
what?
Yeah, I
Voice
did.
acting?
I was like, is this the hotline? This is Vagar. I'm lost again. I'm somewhere out in the narrow sea, I think, but I'm getting hungry. I ate a couple sailors a week or so back, and could y'all send someone out? Thank you.
Dang, I'm gonna have to rewatch that one.
Yeah, it was
Just
good.
for that.
Well, Quinn was on,
Have
so
you-
I was trying to punk him as much as possible. Go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say, have you seen that the other meme going around, which is like people showing baby Aegon, and it's like, how can you hate this face? And then people are like, easy. And I don't know what scene it's from, but it's that woman throwing that blonde toddler into the fire.
Oh my gosh.
That
Yo,
poor baby,
Nick
yeah.
Yard-
No one
Nick Yard in the
told. No one
chat-
told the parents of that child actor like what they were doing. But go ahead, Nettles.
I
Say
know.
it.
If anyone
It's
knows
just an extra scene.
yeah, if anyone knows the GIF I'm talking about, if you know what movie or TV show that is, could you please tell me? Because I kind of want to see that movie now.
So Nick Yard in the chat just said that Otto is like the biggest pimp because he's already pimping out 2-year-old Aegon. Dang.
You know, I don't want to be overly serious. I do think that language is poor for a few
Okay.
reasons. Because this is the thing, is like all these high lords are trying to arrange marriages for their children. That's just how it is. It's not quite the same as, you know. So I think everyone, but whatever. I'm not trying to please. I don't think anyone has any bad intent or anything. But I've said it, and I've heard other people saying, I'm like, well, it's not really what's happening here. But yeah, in any case. And I've been very critical of Otto. I just say that he's using his daughter as a political tool, which is what all these high lords are doing with their children. Rhaenys and Corlys are doing it too. It's just
would
more
just
in the
say-
open, you know.
I would literally, as much as like I hate the Greens, I would literally do the same thing if I was Otto. Like my bloodline on the throne, yes. My brother pressuring me, yes. Like, of course.
And you really see how little choice Alicent has when the king says he's going to marry you. Like, what are you going to do? Be like, no. Like,
Yeah.
no, of course not. So, just getting back, I was trying to get through the super chat rapid fire, just the ones that I missed. And these are bringing up any points that we may have missed too, because we've been through most of the episode.
I'm just seeing everyone in the
so-
chat telling me it's from Twilight, and I'm like, oh, really? That's from a Twilight movie? That seems like a parody scene to be it.
ER David says it seems to be a good omen for Rhaenyra when the White Stag showed up. Yeah, it does indicate that she's the true heir, potentially, at least at this point. It's that kind of omen. I think the omens are important.
Yes.
You know, it's classic fantasy trope, and of course the Romans were very into omens. Omen Romans, that was a very big thing for them. And of course Valeria's somewhat modeled after, you know, there's a little bit like a fantasy Roman Empire. So yeah, I do think we should continue to pay attention to things like that, where the show is giving us clues about who's walking the right path or who's being honorable or dishonorable or whatever that is. So
Cuts on the throne.
was that?
Every cut that happens on the throne.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the
Times.
that's the main example. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, it seems like they're doing that with a lot of things. Like they're working with omens a lot. So that's cool. Because with the whole broken dragon piece, that was meant to be something that Viserys was reading as an omen. When Alicent gave him the fixed dragon piece, that was supposed to be meaningful to him. And Alicent chose it as a gift because it would be meaningful to him. So, you know. For My People says, Rhaenyra's blood-drenched protagonist walk was boss. Yeah, hell yeah, it was. And that's what I said, like, just somebody's walk can communicate something. So the way that she walked back into camp, she's been through some kind of ordeal, but she looks confident instead of troubled. So it was kind of like everyone that saw her would be wondering what happened and talking about her. And so, yeah, that was definitely a big moment.
Just like Damon, his blood-drenched walk back of victory.
True. Oh, you're right. Totally a parallel. You're right about that. And, yeah, that's good. That's good. Let's see here. Read that. Yeah, the crab feeder had bracers on and Damon was dragging him by the wrist, so there's no grayscale contamination issues, Gabe says. Thanks for the detail there. Like I said, I think David was wearing gloves, or gauntlets or something.
And
the next question was
Targaryen
from
were
Druggist of
impervious?
Dragons asking about the grayscale. So there you go. Asked and answered. By the super chats. Over under on blood magic or glass candles appearing in the show. Blood magic, I would say very likely. Glass candles would be less likely. But still plenty realistic if they want to bust it out. The thing is that it's not... We don't know that Targaryens have ever used glass candles. That's just a theory that I have. That's a pretty logical extrapolation. Like, hey, the Citadel has some. Why wouldn't the Targaryens have some? They can make them if they want. But that we've never heard of it. So that's something Ryan can work with if he wants to. And I'm almost through the end. Robert Pettit says, maybe Maegor's bones were buried below the sapling. What, the weirwood? Also, if the weirwood wasn't killed during the dance, I would bet that Baelor the Blessed cut it down. Okay, so Baelor the Blessed may have cut it down. That's a good theory. I don't know about the Maegor's bones thing. No, I'm not sure. I feel like I missed the other half of that thought. But I like the idea that Baelor burned it down. That would make sense. Or cut it down. Rhaenyra's okay. And I'm caught up. Very good. Da-da-da. We can talk about whatever we want now, guys.
So I want to say some people were saying that Damon did not have gloves on with the crab pass, and my whole thing is I'd like to believe that Targaryens are just impervious to grayscale.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to worry about it one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I will say real quick, if I did not read your super chat, and you have one, Christy, I'm seeing your name, Christy. It's possible I just skipped over it on the list. Now is the time. Repeat your question. Tag me. Just do it at David Lightbringer, and I will answer it, as well as any other questions that anyone else has. And I'm also checking out, going back to my notes to see if there's any scenes that were important that we did not talk about.
Someone's demanding the triarchy rant from Tim.
Yeah, I think it's time, Tim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna do it when we did the rankings for the episode. So,
well, let's rank the episode then. I would give this one. I mean, I kind of feel like they're all in the 8 to 9 out of 10 range so far. They're not like, I know they're gonna punch us a little harder at some point, so I'm not ready to throw down a 10. But there's very little to nitpick with these, in my opinion. So yeah, 8.5, 9 out of 10, something like that.
I'll also give it a 9, a solid 9, just because it's the first out of the 3 so far for me. So can't give it a 10, so solid 9.
Okay. So I'm giving it, for the other 2 episodes, I did 10 out of 10 for the first and 9 out of 10 for the second. And maybe those are too generous, but for this one, I'm only giving an 8 out of 10. And the thing that drags the score down for me is the triarchy. So, permission to go off because I got the thoughts. All right. So, when I first read Fire and Blood, and I've read Fire and Blood about 4 or 5 times now, and for me, the triarchy, it never felt like a true threat, even though Myrish crossbowmen are what killed Aemon. Like they never truly felt like a threat because of the dragons. Like this never felt like an entente of power between Lys Tyrosh and Mir. It was always like, it always read more like fucking Three Stooges to me. Like there was no Germany or Japan in this axis. It was 3 bumbling Italies, like just mistaking their way into success. That's always the impression I got from the triarchy. And so when I saw Kragus Crabfeeder in episode 2, I was like, okay, maybe they're going to do something with them. Maybe they're going to be like more of a threat. And then this episode happened, and my opinion remains unchanged because of the way it went down. Kragus Crabfeeder, not a single line of dialogue, killed off screen, never uses that crab hammer in battle. The crossbowmen shooting flaming arrows at a dragon, and Caraxes is just like, yes, shoot more, they're like vitamins to me. And then for Damon to have that the whole
little Mario mushrooms,
the one-man killing machine. Like, it felt, okay, yeah, it's cool, but it felt so tropey to me. Like, are we in a fucking Rambo? Like, is this a Stallone movie? Am I watching Schwarzenegger? Like, he's just cutting through these guys, and like one man cutting through 12 guys, and then all of the arrows missing him. And it's like, who fucking taught you how to aim? Stormtroopers? And
can I interrupt real quick, Tim? Let me just cut him real quick. And I'm not disagreeing. I do think we should remember that he has a Valyrian steel sword. It gives him a huge advantage. It's faster and sharper. As far as the aiming of the arrows, it seemed like they were kind of far away, and there's a lot of crap out there on the battlefield. So the impression I got was that we were supposed to think that they were difficult shots. They weren't like, point blank range like stormtroopers that just can't hit somebody 12 feet away from them or whatever. But he did get hit also.
Yeah, eventually, and that's like, he eventually gets hit, and it's because of sheer numbers. Like, he cuts through 12, like a dozen guys before sheer numbers overwhelm him. It's like, it's Russian tactics. It's Zap Brannigan's Big Book of War. Just keeps sending wave after wave of men, and Kragas is in the background like, quit dying, you cowards. And that's the way it was so tropey to me. And that is what drags it down. Like, the triarchy are mooks. They in Fire and Blood they read like mooks, and in the show they remain mooks, and they will always be mooks.
Yeah, you have to think they're not trained, disciplined soldiers. All of them. Some of they probably have various range of experience and discipline. Some of those bows are in disrepair. I guess you could hack it apart there, but I agree it was tropey. I think it was meant to be. Like, it was meant to show that Damon's a little larger than life. The main thing is that we're supposed to understand that he has risked himself. They're saying only a madman would do this thing, and Damon is the madman who did it. And they did need to try something desperate in order to draw them out of the caves. They would only come out when they thought they had an easy victory there. So he had to keep fighting and drawing them out for the plan to work. I agree that, like, overall, Stepstone's battle, I could see why some people would be disappointed, want more of it. The thing is that it's always, with the battles, it's always a budget question on the show, like where they do the big battle of the season and all that. You remember they used to do it like every other season on Game of Thrones. There's going to be a lot of big battles, so I feel like this is just a warm-up. Maybe don't make too much of it, but I do understand what you're saying, Tim. And if you have more, feel free to go ahead.
Tim, I disagree.
Okay. That's why I waited for you before. I waited for you to join us before I went on the tirade, because I wanted to hear your.
Let me disagree, and then you can do your rebuttal. Let me disagree, and then you can challenge me and do your rebuttal, so you can finish your tirade. I was so fucking impressed. I love that scene. I was like, whoa, especially the first scene. Like, I was like cringing. I was like, oh my gosh. And then, like, what I liked about it was the fact that it was kind of realistic. Because I love the dragon so much, and I don't know if the audience is with me on this, I always expect that if someone's challenging a dragon rider, it's going to be easy. That Damon should have swooped in on day one, burn whoever he needed to burn, pluck Draghouse out of his ship, and like just be done with it. But it's taken 2 years, and you're seeing the strain on Damon. When Damon bashes the messenger's head in, it's not only because of the message, it's because he's just come back from fighting a fight that he should win in 5 seconds, and he's out here getting wounded in the shoulder. He's got to retreat. So it's also like that aspect of it. And I love that they showed all that, because it shows that, like, number one, the dragons are not impervious. Like, we saw that in Game of Thrones. We thought that Dany was going to come in and do what, just own everything, and she didn't.
Nettles, all we have to do is think about Rhaenyra suggesting, send us, Father. So she wanted to put herself in that, and people pointed that out to me, because I said, oh, that was a good suggestion by Rhaenyra. I was actually thinking more of sending Rhaenys, Melys, Damon, and Caraxes than sending the heir, Rhaenyra. Obviously, Viserys wouldn't have sent Rhaenyra, but you could see in that first scene with Damon and Caraxes, to your point, it's not a sure thing. You can get hit if there's enough people all shooting at you. And then even when you land, you're vulnerable too. So you did suddenly see like, oh, well, that's why Viserys didn't want to send Rhaenyra down there, I guess, right? So, but let's let Tim get back to it, I guess, right?
Rebuttal.
It's just
You rained on my Carnunos parade, Tim. Buck up, buddy.
the problem is I can't like. For me to go in more goes into spoiler territory because it's going to be what we see later on. Because the triarchy's not. Kragus is dead, but the triarchy hasn't fallen apart yet, and they will come back. But it's just like I said, it's from what I read the books to see on the show. I just still can't take the triarchy seriously. I can't see them. Like they just never come off as a valid threat because they're constantly backstabbing one another and they're never a united front and they never provide like David said, like they're not trained soldiers. They're guys like whatever. But like my impression of the triarchy. Like, my impression of the triarchy is the same way I think of in Dance with Dragons when we see those guys from Yunkai out on the stilts. It's like, you have no place on this battlefield. What are you even doing here?
George does like his cartoonish soldier enemies, kind of, doesn't he? I think that, to sum it up, I think your points are valid, Tim. I do think it's a little bit like we're supposed to suspend disbelief, like some people are saying. So that's all in how you want to consume the show. I do think that Game of Thrones has done a lot of very realistic battle scenes, so people are right to expect it to be realistic. But I think the bottom line is, like, it was a risky plan. They said, that needed a madman at the middle of it, and that was what Damon was the right madman. That's the thing we're supposed to take from it. So I also very much liked the dragons being involved in the battle. I thought the Corlys was kicking ass with his weapon. All the Valerians were cool out there. We talked about Laenor and Sea Smoke. But it's like, you could see, like, yeah, as soon as they got those archers to come out on that ledge, then here comes Sea Smoke burning them up. So you could see the plan snapping into action there. And so I liked a lot of parts of the battle. I liked a lot of the shots of the dragons. We got one at daytime and one at nighttime, so that was cool. Yeah, so I think there was a lot to like, even if there was a little bit of tropiness, like you say, Tim.
Yeah, like I said, I will say, like, it's a badass, like, even though it comes off like an 80s action movie, it is a badass scene. It's a cool scene. It makes Damon look great. My problem is I think it's too cool to be wasted on the triarchy, because I just have such a low opinion of the triarchy.
Well, that I'm not disputing that. So, and they're also, the triarchy's not even sending their actual army. They're using pirate army as a proxy. So they probably don't really care if they fail. They're just using him to cause trouble, and they're getting a cut probably from the pirates. So they're just fattening their purses or whatever.
And that brings me back to, like, what I said in the last stream about Kragus being this Prince Admiral. I feel like it's a made-up title. It's something you call yourself to make yourself feel more important. And for him to die off screen without having a single line of dialogue kind of cements that more for me. It's like, you were never really, like, you came off sinister. I was really hoping that they were going to do something with him, and they kind of just didn't. He's dead and gone already. Never said a word.
Yeah, I kind of felt like we needed that. We needed a little showdown with Damon, some dialogue. What's his motivation? I mean, yeah, I get that.
No, I mean, I'm satisfied with it. It was a quick little blurb in the book, so it makes sense that, like, I don't want to give Kragas more importance than that with the Stepstones. But what was the name of this episode? Do we know?
Someone in the chat will actually 500 people will tell us in about 10 seconds. Akeem Hands Reacts says, did Caraxes feel pain when Damon got hit at the start of the episode? Yes. Thanks for pointing that out. I noticed that too. When Damon took the arrow wound, it seemed like Caraxes reacted. And that's how they've talked about it. They're playing up the psychic link between Dragon and Rioter. So yes, Caraxes will feel Damon's wound and maybe even know, like, which direction to turn to burn.
The episode is called The Second of His Name.
Little shit. Little dumb baby.
Oh, wait. Yeah, okay.
Throw him into the well. I didn't say that. All right. I was hating on the Hobbits in my earlier stream. I was like, yeah, the stupid hobbits. Like, I can't stand the hobbits. Like, who likes the hobbits? And everyone's like, what? And I was like, yeah, aren't the hobbits annoying? And I was like, I don't know. All my friends think the hobbits are annoying. I just thought that was common. I mean, we love them. They're lovable, but they're kind of annoying. Yeah. Tedious.
Canceled.
Canceled. Yeah.
Me and my girl watched the first 2 episodes of the Rings of Power show, and I'm just going to admit it, I fell asleep during the first episode. I'm sorry.
I can see that. I liked it overall, but it's definitely doing like it's got mad setup energy right now. I like that they're setting up for something big, but I gave my thoughts earlier. I don't want to turn it into a Rings of Power. Nettles, did you have something to say?
I was just going to say the only thing I heard about it is that people were saying it's supposedly better than House of the Dragon, and I said where? That's all I'm going to say. Where?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. It's very different style of show, so it's hard to compare them. I thought it was pretty good. There was a lot of story writing and character development stuff that I liked. I liked it enough to keep watching it, definitely. And I like Galadriel a lot, so I'm into it. I understand some people's criticisms. And the hard thing is that, like, the canon issues are really big because they don't have the rights to all the material. So I feel like Amazon has set up their biggest obstacle with this thing by not getting the clean rights to everything, and now they got to step around certain characters and elements and still try to tell the story. So that's kind of the tough thing. So I understand the people that are really attached to the Silmarillion canon and are like, oh man, this is totally different. What I was trying to encourage people to do is the same thing we had to do with Game of Thrones while we were watching it and somewhat enjoying it. Like before the ending, it was like we just had to separate it and say that this is not really adapting Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. It's kind of Dave and Dan doing their own thing. And then we sort of just had to say, I like this scene or didn't like this scene and consider it to be separate. So that's what I was trying to tell the Rings fans to do. But I don't know if they'll be able to do it. It's tough. It's so different. I mean, it's very... Playing fast and loose with the canon doesn't even begin to describe it. I mean, it's the time and the events. I mean, they can't even do a lot of the canon because of legal stuff. So anyways, it does have good things going on. So I'm going to keep watching it, and I'm hopeful. I was worried that it was going to be like terrible, and I don't think it's terrible. I thought like a lot of the characters were strong. Dialogue was pretty good. I want to know who Meteor Man is. You know, I'm into some of the mysteries already, so whatever. But anyways, I don't even want to look at the chat right now. PayPals, I got a couple PayPals. Eli says, send in a 420. Good times. Let the good times roll. Thanks, Eli. Samantha says, not able to tune in, but wanted to let Cleo, Nettles, Tim, and you know that you're doing great. Love the group therapy after the episodes. Couple things about tonight. Bummed we didn't get the fight between Damon and Kragas. Loved Laenor shouting "woo" from the back of Sea Smoke. I actually wrote that down. Laenor, quotes, "woo." Ric Flair style. That was cool. Got the Ric Flair drip. And if you didn't catch it, Viserys wiped dear leavings on Otto when he patted his arm. That's dope. I'll look for that. That'll be like in the 5 things you missed video. Thank you. Cinnabarb. That was from Cinnabarb. Jackie says, what do you think about Otto calling dragons dangerous weapons in episode 2? Don't the Targaryens see their dragons also as companions? Did you mean Viserys and not Otto? I think that's what you meant. And we've talked about Viserys having a love-hate relationship with the dragons. He's more into the dreaming side than the dragon side. And I contrasted that with Damon, who's skeptical of dreams and puts faith in the dragons. So I think that's how we're supposed to see that.
Nice.
And Jackie again says prophetic dreams was the villain this week. Yeah, well, that's why I was talking about it that way in the previous videos. Like these dreams are a burden. It's pain. Remember the 3 principles of prophecy? The third one is pain. And so that's what we're seeing. Like Viserys has been carrying this thing around. He's not even sure if he believes it anymore, but now he's got a son. So he's wondering again. He's going back around for a second round of pain with the prophecy. Maybe it's Aegon. Maybe I should disinherit Rhaenyra and put Aegon on the throne. But then he decides, no, I won't do that. I don't believe in prophecy, and I'm sticking with Rhaenyra, even though I did it for crappy reasons. So it's kind of fucked up in true Viserys fashion. Tim, your thoughts on Viserys' mess? Yeah, and his dealing with being haunted by his dreams, I guess, is the prompt.
I think it's showing more of Viserys' flip-flopping, because for him to write off prophecy now it's kind of, it seems disingenuous, because he seems like so focused on it before. And I do think he really is questioning, like, well, maybe the son was actually supposed to be Aegon the Second, but then he's like, no, I can't go back on this now. I think he's looking at it, it's like, even if he comes to think, maybe I was wrong about the first son, and maybe it was this son who fits the prophecy, but also I'm stuck in between such a rock and a hard place right now. I can't unname Rhaenyra. Our relationship is already so fractured. If I were to unname her now and play and go forward with this new idea that maybe this new son was supposed to be the prophecy, that's just going to be like the final nail in the coffin. I might as well never speak to her again after that.
Yeah.
So, I liked how Allison was like, "It's late, honey. Like, you've been drinking. Let's not talk about dreams right now." I felt that.
Yeah, for anyone who's like been really, really drunk and has had to have like their significant other just be like, "No, honey, calm down. We need to go home. Like, let's get you to bed."
Best feeling ever. No, I hate that he had that conversation with Allison, because I feel like now, once again, making Allison sympathetic to me, or trying to, is no matter what happens from now on, Allison knows that secret. Allison can look at Rhaenyra with eyes like, it was never supposed to be you. He had dreams of a male heir. Like, she'll know that he wavered, that it wasn't like a steadfast.
I think you're exactly right. That is the narrative purpose of dropping that in that way. Because Viserys is basically saying, "Oh, I don't believe in this dream anymore." And then later in the episode, we hear him doubling down on Rhaenyra. But you're right, now Alicent knows about it. Yeah, they could use that later. You're totally right. Good call. I like that. Just to clean up what I was talking about with Jackie earlier, Otto is the one that called the dragons dangerous weapons. So I'm not sure what the question is then. Of course, he would think that. I mean, everybody should think that. They are dangerous weapons. That's just #facts. So I guess the question is, like, what's the Hightower's game? They're trying to get close to the Targaryens, but the Targaryens are crazy dragon riders. Well, they're trying to get close to Viserys, who doesn't have a dragon, and he's pushed Damon away. He's pushed the Velaryons away, who have dragons, and now he's working on Rhaenyra. He's been minimizing her power too. So I think the plan is sort of in keeping with the idea of the Maester conspiracy, which is we want to get rid of the dragons. So we want to pick Targaryens without dragons, isolate them from their dragon-riding siblings, or assassinate their dragon-riding relatives, and eventually kill the last Targaryens altogether. So that's why the Great Council would have picked Viserys, because he didn't have a dragon and Rhaenys did. And Rhaenys was more fierce. So that's in keeping with all of that, I would say. So yeah, it is a dangerous game that Otto is playing, and he is willing to take all kinds of risks. Coming to Dragonstone was a little risky. Like I said, I don't think that Damon meant to start a war and couldn't afford to. So I think Otto was right to call his bluff, but he was still confronting a volatile dragon lord with a dragon. So that's risky. Choosing to let the realm bleed at the Stepstones in order to weaken Corlys is a risky move. Otto's doing that. So Otto is not afraid to take risks. That's the whole second son thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
what about Dragon of the Week?
Well, Sea Smoke. Gotta be. We love Caraxes.
What about Caraxes working that neck, boy? I mean, Caraxes was fighting in the beginning. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we gotta love Caraxes, but I think Sea Smoke, just because it was his debut and for throwing those two people. Caraxes stepped on a guy. That was kind of cool, but Sea Smoke was throwing the enemy, so you got to give it to Sea Smoke, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of like all the Caraxes memes going around of everyone calling him the throat goat. But
oh my god, I have not seen that.
You have not seen anyone calling Caraxes the throat goat?
Oh, it was all over Teflon's stream. I
am young and innocent in the ways of the world.
I call him the flying spaghetti monster. And Glidus calls him the spicy noodle monster.
Oh my gosh!
But he is a long boy, certified long boy. That's no doubt.
I mean, Caraxes is my favorite dragon, but I am going to give it to Sea Smoke because we've seen Caraxes but now Sea Smoke is new and shiny, and we never seen him and now we gotta give some recognition to him, and because eventually we're gonna get even more dragons, and they're gonna be the new shiny thing that we want to talk about.
Yeah, plus Laenor was awesome too, so you could give it to Sea Smoke and Laenor.
I love that they
strong debut for those two is what I was saying.
Yeah, I was just that's another thing. Like Laenor, in Fire and Blood. Like, I mean, again, because it's part of the way it's written, but he he seemed like more of a pushover in the books and really not much of a personality. But here, they're giving him a really strong personality here. I like to see it.
I think that there's actually hints that it's otherwise. If you look at the way that he goes through boyfriends and kind of dismisses one and then has a new favorite, like you can see that, like, that's a certain type of arrogant person. Like, he's kind of a player, he's running through partners, right? Yeah. I expected him to have some swag. So yeah, I like the way that they fleshed out the character, though, to your point, Tim, that he comes across real strong. And I like how, just to go back to the idea that he's, sorry to use the word strong. Yeah. I like the way that they really aren't hand-holding us. Like, they didn't give us a whole, like, oh, and this is Laenor, and he claimed Sea Smoke last year, and blah, blah, blah. He just is there riding the dragon, and it's like, oh, that's Corlys' son. He has a dragon. Okay. It's like, then you just get with it. So we've got too much to cover to hand-hold on everything. I think it's more artsy to do it this way. So I really like how they continue to leave stuff off screen, with the exception of the Kragas showdown. We all agree we wanted to see that, but otherwise I think they're doing a good job of developing things off screen and just letting us play catch up. That's also in keeping with Martin's style of flashing forward and back and stuff like that, and letting you fill in what's happened. So yeah, we're not dummies. We don't need all that exposition. Keep it moving. Yeah, I like it.
Going back to Caraxes, I just want to say that he looks to be the smallest dragon, because in episode 2, it looked like Cyrax was bigger than Caraxes. No?
I didn't think so. I think Cyrax was a little closer to the camera when they were both on the wide shot of the bridge.
Okay.
I don't know. Caraxes looked pretty big to me today when he was like down on the ground.
I was going to say, I thought maybe Caraxes might have been the smallest, but just watching him put in work, that was so impressive.
He was putting in work.
I enjoyed that better than some of the Drogon fire sequences or war sequences, I mean.
I really like it when the dragons are on the ground. And that happens a couple times in the dragon fights to come. So it's cool that they're using that because they really are a problem on the ground with the tail and the foot if you're in the wrong place.
What about if they whack a wing and a gust of wind goes flying by?
Look, I've been wing slapped by Cleo plenty of times, and let me tell you, that hurts, okay? So I can only imagine.
It's like, have you been bitch slapped by a bird? Call
I have, yes. Not by a dragon, thankfully. So, Caraxes would have grown, too. If you think about it, Dany's dragons grew a lot.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah, it's been 2 years, so they would be bigger. So the next time we see Cyrax, we should be ready for a bigger Cyrax, too. There you go. All right, cool. All right, let's throw out last call for questions. I feel like we've gotten through most of the material here. We got a good breakdown going tonight. It did help me a lot to take notes, even though we didn't go through them scene by scene. It helped me organize my thoughts a lot. So I feel good about the work that we have done tonight, even though we started on a ghost stream there for a minute. That was weird. All right. But yeah, last call for questions, guys. If I missed anything, or if you just want to. So I have a feeling like that musician might be Mushroom. Like I said, I think that might be him, but we'll see.
I'll take it. As long as he's as quippy and mischievous, then yeah, I want it.
Because I think if you're going to step around the awkwardness of having, because he looked like he was kind of short. And what I heard is that they weren't going to have a little person, quote unquote, but just somebody who was kind of short. So he looked kind of short, and he's a musician, so he's not a fool, but he's in the same sort of position where he's always around the lords, and they could look past him. So that's why I said maybe that's Mushroom, but I'm just speculating. I don't know that. So
Yeah, I mean, if they let him be quippy, like he was, the scene we got him in, he really wasn't in a situation where he had the freedom to be quippy because of Rhaenyra being in the mood that she was.
Oh, the bard's name was Samwell. So,
Yeah.
well, do we know that Mushroom has a real name? Or what his real name would have been?
No, they never, I don't believe they ever said what his real name
Seems
is.
like little people don't get real names, like from Penny, like Bobono, or I don't know. Like
Well, also, like fools, and aside from Sir Dantos, like fools in general, we got Moon Boy and Butterballs and like, they never.
Jingle Bell.
Yeah. Oh wait, wasn't Jingle Bell was Aegon, or was
Frey.
wasn't he Rhaegar Frey or Aegon Frey or something?
Aegon
Frey.
Aegon Frey.
He had a real name.
Aegon
Frey.
Frey.
Rhaegar was a different Frey. He ended up as a pie.
Yeah, Rhaegar's a pie now.
Yeah. Well, he's okay. We won't get into what happens after pie is eaten and processed by the human body, but he's in some organic form. Okay, so like I said, if you had okay, here's one. Do you think there was any symbolism of the bonfire at the camp looking like the funeral pyre when Viserys and Alicent were talking? Well, perhaps because he was thinking of Emma and talking of Emma in that scene. So it could have been literally something like Viserys was thinking about the correlation and thinking of Emma because the last time he stood in front of a big fire was at her funeral. So that could be an intended in story parallel as well as a parallel that we noticed. So that's a good call. The next week's trailer I don't want to talk about because some people don't want to get spoiled about that, so I won't get into that here. I did glance at it while I was getting ready, but I didn't catch the whole thing, so.
Another thing I'll say is they really made the Stepstones look like something not worth fighting over.
Yes, it really was. It's just a matter of it being a shipping lane. It's not valuable for any other reason, yeah. So.
We did get, I guess our dwarf here is Dwarfstone. Like we get a name of one of a new name for one of the Stepstone Islands, Dwarfstone.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, so Bloodstone, that's the other mythical astronomy shout out besides the Garth the Green, Sir Nunos. They talked about Bloodstone Island, and of course, we've made a big deal of the Bloodstone Emperor and all the symbolism of that way back in the day. So, you're nodding your head. Do you go back that far, Nettles? Do you know Bloodstone Compendium?
Yeah.
Yeah, she says.
I started from from video 1, like all the way through when I was like sitting at work.
Yeah, I don't assume that everyone that's like down with my shit has listened to literally every hour that I've ever spoken. So I don't, it's a lot at this point, but that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, I made way too much of the Bloodstone I had like an hour of all the hippie like associations with Bloodstone and how they sort of vaguely match different ideas in A Song of Ice and Fire. And I look back on it one time and I was like, damn.
Talk of them.
What's that?
It's the first place I heard talk of the Bloodstone Emperors, the different colors and what they represent. I mean, I don't know.
Someone commented the other day on one of my videos and was like, did you know the Bloodstone? And I'm just like, oh God, don't ask, don't bring it up. All right. So
lots of blood given in this episode to Bloodstone.
Yes, it did. There's lots of blood being offered. Mary says, I didn't find a real name for Mushroom. So he's just Mushroom. So he could be Samwell. Hey, what was the song he was singing? Was it about Nymeria?
It started with ships.
I thought it was about Nymeria.
Something about a dragon. So I was like, under the dragon's eye. Remember, he started with under the dragon's eye. But then it was talking about her and then ships. So I was like,
that's what ships and her people. I mean, that's under the dragon's eye still applies to Nymeria because they were running from Valyrians.
Okay, right.
Oh, maybe that's
okay.
Cool.
If you're being chased by Valyrians, you're under the dragon's eye.
Okay.
Why did I forget that? You're right, Tim. Look at Tim. Okay. All right now.
So what was there was a super chat that came in that was about something. I just want to make sure I got back to it. I think we went through all the Rhaenyra stuff pretty thoroughly. It was about Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
I was disappointed in her. I really was, because she was showing better instincts last episode. So I was like, man, you should be using this opportunity to play politics. You need support. So hopefully we'll.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I just hoping we'll see that growth from her, going forward. So.
I think we will, like, ending. But in the beginning, I was like, come on, your dad's actually standing up for you. Even Allison's standing up for you. Prove them wrong. Prove them that you're the Realm's Delight. And I have never seen the Realm's Delight. They said it in this episode, but I'm like, come on, Rhaenyra. I'm with you, David. Like, you can do better.
Yep. Yeah, she's got to grow up, and start thinking about this as a Game of Thrones that's like you lose and you die. Like, think about it that seriously, And she's all up in her feelings. So, but again, that's something Damon, Viserys, and Rhaenyra are all doing to various extents. So they're showing you that Targaryen hot-bloodedness. Like, no, they're not insane, but they represent a certain archetype in general, a certain type of person, certain rashness and boldness. And so you see the good side of that. Damon won the war. He was the madman who turned the tide of the battle. But he also beat the hell out of a messenger and probably just should have waited for the reinforcements to show up. So the whole point he did that risky ass thing was so that he could get the credit of doing it, right?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Before, and very fast, before the ships can get there, so we can say it was me. No help.
Yeah, like I didn't need your help at all. I did it all myself.
Oh, real quick. Sorry. Go ahead, finish your thought, and then I got something else.
I was gonna say, do you know how they say kill the boy, let the man be grown, kill the girl? I wonder if they say kill the dragon for Targaryens. Like, grow up, kill the dragon.
Probably not. That seems like it would be too counterintuitive. But, oh God, what was I gonna say? Oh
no,
it's not your fault. It's ADHD. It's absolutely not your fault. Oh yes. There was a YouTuber whom I will not name, one of the big guys who gets the videos early, who made a video that basically made it sound like what's-her-name was going to be cast as Melisandre, and that Melisandre is in this story. Who's the one that plays in the Marvel universe?
Olsen? Elizabeth
Thank you.
Olsen?
I'm so bad with I don't do Marvel, and anyways. So just want to straighten this out. Melisandre is not in this story. Okay, there is a character in the story named Alice Rivers, who is a witch character, has obvious parallels and similarities to Melisandre. She talks about seeing things in the flames, whatever. I think she might say much and more, or one of those. So there has long been a theory that is Melisandre. There's not a lot of evidence for it, other than just what I said. I think it is more likely that it is a parallel figure. We know that Martin likes to create parallel figures in different times. However, the YouTube video that I will not mention said something like, "Oh, we know Melisandre was active in Essos in this time in the Red Temple, and and we don't know that. We have no idea where she is. We know that she is associated with the Red Temple, and that she's from Ashai to some extent, and that she's very old. 400 years is a number from the show canon. That is not book canon. She says years beyond count that she's practiced magic. That's all we know. So we have reason to believe that she's extended her lifespan potentially. We don't know how old she is, where she was at any given time. So I just want to knock that down. There's a small possibility that this Alice Rivers character could be Melisandre in disguise, but they haven't cast the same actress. So it's more likely that this is just a different character that will remind you of Melisandre. So I just wanted to straighten everyone else on that.
Interesting. I always saw 100% old gods energy from Alice Rivers. I've never heard about this Melisandre thing until right now.
Yeah, I don't like the theory that much either. I think it's like not understanding how Martin creates parallels. So Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, from like Visenya to Tiana the Tower to Shiera Seastar, it's like every era of the Targaryen dynasty also seems to have its witch character somewhere in the background. Like they pop up time and time again. Ghost of Highheart, like it's a recurring theme.
Yeah, this the same YouTube channel that kept, instead of saying Laenor was gay, kept saying, so Laenor, he's like kind of like a Loras type figure. So like he's gonna cause certain political complications. And it's like, yeah, that's my impression too. That was me doing the voice, but
No.
yeah, no, he's gay. He's not a Loras type figure. He's gay, bro. He's gay. You can say it. It's all right. In any case,
he's gay, but he's also like they're not gonna make that like okay, he's gay, and that's gonna be 100% of his personality. Like, no, he's a character who happens to be gay, but he's also brave and bold, and and like
he's also a person. Just like George talks about, I treat my female characters like, like people. Yeah. Same thing. It's like, yeah, he's the person who is gay, but
Yeah, see, like I'm straight, so I can't really, I don't know, I don't want to speak on those types of issues, but that is like, we can agree that that becomes a thing, like a gay character, they end up being like, that becomes like 100% of their personality, and everything around them is like, oh, they're gay, and that's their characters, they're the gay guy, and it's like, that's their one defining feature. I love that they're not going with this. He's a person who has agency and all of that.
Yeah, they haven't even brought it up. It's technically a spoiler at this point, except for that, like I said, the trailers have shown him with his boyfriend a bunch of times, so, but whatever. In any case, let's see. So again, I will throw out last call for questions because I think we've pretty much run through it all. Anna says, they're really showing the blacks as the protagonists here. I hope they change that after the plot twist. I disagree with that. I think Otto is very villainous, but we spend most of our time talking about how Viserys is failing and setting up the seeds for war. Damon is very villainous, and Rhaenyra has a lot of growth to do, as we've just been saying. So I think they're showing us all the different ways that people contribute to this war that's coming. Yeah. But I'm obviously Otto's not sympathetic. I continue to say that Alicent is sympathetic. And I think that as the various twists and turns that build up the tension for the war occur, you will at various times feel like one party or the other is a little more in the right at any given time. There are moments when somebody from the blacks will be ugly and you'll be like, ooh, that sucks. That's ugly. I understand why the Greens are pissed about that. And then you'll be, going the other way another minute. So we'll be taking a ride with all of it. I do agree that Rhaenyra and Damon are the two most main characters in the story. And so a lot of it revolves around them. They are the protagonists that move the plot the most, but a lot of it is about their failures. So I wouldn't say that they're making Team Green centered as the good guys. They're centered in a narrative sense because those characters are the Targaryens. The Greens are mostly the not Targaryens. But everyone's has their share of failure. We've already seen, like I said, Viserys and Rhaenyra and Damon all making mistakes that are ratcheting up tensions. So, yeah. Yeah, Alicent is doing... I'm really impressed at Emily Carey. I think Emily Carey is not getting enough credit. The actress that plays young Alicent. She was doing amazing nonverbal acting in the first 2 episodes, communicating when she was nervous and when she wasn't and stuff like that. Now she's almost a completely different character to where she's got this 2-year time jump. She's now a mother. She's now settled into her relationship with Viserys. And so I really feel like we almost got a new actress. Alicent seems so different. And it's actually the same actress still. We haven't switched. And so I just really think that Emily Carey is doing an amazing job here.
She rubs her belly a lot. I feel like when in that scene she was talking to Rhaenyra, I almost wanted to count how many times she rubbed her belly, and I was trying to see if that's more of like a look at me now, like kind of like a power play, but we'll see. I know she did it in another scene, so it might not be a thing.
I definitely think that Millie Alcock is doing a great job as Rhaenyra too, and a lot of people are saying, yeah, we're gonna miss her when they do the jump. So yeah, I think both Millie and Emily are doing a great job portraying their characters. So yeah, I'm into it. Strong acting all the way around, well cast. I mean, the Game of Thrones casting was always one of its strong points. They did a great job casting. So it's interesting that Rhaenyra's rivals will eventually become her strongest allies and her friends become her greatest enemies. Thanks for spoiling the entire story, Patrick. No, I'm kidding. The alliances shift around a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they shift multiple times, even inside the war. So it's kind of, that's why I was raising the point that like Rhaenyra should be using the opportunity of everyone courting her to at least establish some rapport with some of these people who are going to be the high lords of their houses in 20 years. It's also relevant that a lot of the people that gave the oath to Rhaenyra and Viserys when she was made the heir, it's going to be almost 20 years later by the time she takes the throne. So some of those lords are going to be gone, and it's going to be their sons who are now the lords. So that's going to be a thing. All right, I think that'll about do it.
Yay.
Closing thoughts, guys.
Can't wait for next episode, obviously. I don't have any predictions. I know what will happen, but I don't know what they'll show. So I'm just excited.
I just want to see Vhagar. Tell me when Vhagar's coming. That's all. You know. Give me Nanny Vhagar, and so maybe we'll get to see that next episode.
Like, I'm surprised we haven't seen Vhagar yet. Like, I really was hoping that what I said last stream was going to come out, that she would just kind of pop up some point during the Stepstones. Like I had
Is
this
there
idea
a war
in my head.
going on over here? I love war. Let me just breathe a little fire.
I had this idea in my head that she, like, because they dropped that line, like, Vhagar is lonely, that maybe she would see Caraxes and see smoke burning the triarchy and just be like, I want to play too, and then follow them back home. Like, that really was my headcanon.
Are we having a burning?
Didn't happen.
I'm late to the burning. No one told me we were having a bonfire.
All right. This isn't a spoiler because the name of the episodes are out, but the next episode is called King of the Narrow Sea. Any predictions based on just the name?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's going to be Damon returning to King's Landing as King of the Narrow Sea and flaunting his power that he's gained by going on his hero mission. So, yeah, we've seen that in some of the trailers, of course, and it's a big moment in the books. So, yeah, don't want to spoil it, but...
Piggybacking off what you're saying, if he's coming back to King's Landing, like King in the castle, I also feel like that's also where him and Rhaenyra can maybe develop a bond if he's there. And maybe, but we also saw her and Kristen Cole developing a bond this episode. So.
Yeah, and we already know Kristen and Damon have a little thing going. So, yeah, I think that triangle might heat up when he gets back to King's Landing with his bad haircut that we know he's going to get. So. And
Narrow Sea is in a double entendre for, one of the narrowest parts of a woman that have wetness. But yeah. So king of many multiple things.
Officially a late night show.
Tim, what are you thinking?
I was thinking of something that I actually cannot say, and I won't say it. I'll have to tell you after the stream. But
I think all night I kept my mind out of the gutter, and Nettles, you drug it in there, kicking and screaming.
Titles have double or triple entendres.
I know.
Well,
blame George.
We just saw a bunch of crabs in this episode, so that.
And a
all right, we're going off the air. Christian with a super chat. Notice how Laurie's just fades into the background. He knows when to show up and when to dip. Yeah, we didn't mention the clubfoot except for that he was there. But you start to see how he can just sort of blend into a scene. That's a good observation. He's like, oh, may I join you? I'm not made for the hunt. And it's like, oh, he's going to listen to all that good gossip that the other men aren't listening to. So you can see he's got that easy manner about him.
One last thought. Severe lack of Beesbury in this episode. No pearl clutching from the Master of Coin.
So, Tim, your predictions for next week?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure exactly how much more of a time jump we're gonna get with Damon returning. Like maybe we'll get a bit of mop up of like the Stepstones and stuff.
I think very little. I think very little.
Maybe just a couple months time skip. Like I don't know. Like because I'm not sure exactly how far along Alicent is supposed to be right now with this the second pregnancy. So I don't know if we'll see a new princeling next episode, or if she'll still be preggers. So
I do feel like it's going to be a thing where like it could almost be a meme. Every time we come back to a new episode, there's like more kids. They just keep like appearing.
She's pregnant with another.
It's like, there's just another one running around, and then Rhaenyra's going to start popping them out, and just going to be like, damn, more kids. They're just spawning like little imps. Anyway. All right. Yeah. So Rudolph maybe missed. We talked about Joanna Swan earlier, actually, but yeah, very cool reference, and it just shows how deep into the lore that Ryan is. So very cool. Thanks for all the compliments, guys. I see lots of as we're wrapping up, lots of nice compliments. People enjoying the show, enjoying the dynamic, complimenting how beautiful Tim is. Oh no, Nettles. I'm sorry. Most of the beautiful comments are going to you, Nettles. Tim, no offense. But yeah, Nettles, between the three of us, Nettles gets those comments. But people did like our dynamics, so yeah. Maybe.
No, thank you guys. You were right about Tim.
Well, Tim's a beautiful man too, but Nettles is you're stealing the show over here. That's okay. That's all right. We don't mind that. And that the hair is, when you put so much effort into the hair, it's got to be appreciated. So. In any case, thanks, guys. Like I was saying, you guys leave lots of positive comments. Tim was mentioning he goes back and read them. That really does something for us, for the soul. So thank you all for telling us how much you enjoy the show, and we love doing it. And we'll see you again next week. And yeah, that's about it.
Good night.
Bye.
Toodaloo. Oh yeah, drop your channels, guys. They're in the description, of course, and the mods have been dropping them throughout. Your channels are both named after your names, so look up Girl Nettles, look up Grey Waste Tim, and you will find their channels. But yeah, don't forget to like and comment. YouTube stuff. Subscribe. All right, thank you. All right, awkward dismount. Oh well. See you later.